Chapter 2399. Chapter 2399. Chapter 239. Too much nonsense. Although he had killed Qian Kun, there were still many experts from the Qian clan in Oriental City. However, if even someone as strong as Qian Kun was killed, would those nobodies from the Qian clan in Oriental City dare to oppose him? The answer was obviously no. All right. Since you have already made your decision, I will not say anything more. Xiao Duanya took a few steps back. His gaze swept across the Eastern Venerable One and the Northern Venerable One as he said in a low voice, "If I discover that someone has secretly interfered in the spar between Ningyu and Qian Kun, I will let them know what cruelty is." Crash! As he spoke, Xiao Duanya took out a scroll from his bosom and threw it into the air. Boom! As soon as the scroll reached the air, it exploded with a loud bang. Whoosh! 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 Next, four huge pillars of light appeared from the direction of the explosion of the scroll, firmly occupying four directions. The battlefield of massacre. Evidently, the scroll that Xiao Duanya took out was a scroll of the battlefield of massacre. As for the battlefield of massacre, it was a battlefield left behind from the ancient era, specifically for battles of life and death. When two warriors in a battle of life and death entered the battlefield of massacre to fight, they could be free from outside interference and focus on killing their enemies. The two of you go in. Xiao Duanya pointed at the battlefield of massacre and said, "In a battle of life and death are determined by fate. Who wins and who loses depends on your own luck." Whoosh! Without any hesitation, Qian Kun directly jumped into the battlefield of massacre. Ning Yu looked at the battlefield of massacre, then looked at Xiao Duanya. For some reason, Ning Yu still felt that the battlefield of massacre was a little special. As for what was special, Ning Yu could not tell. Forget it. I'll deal with it as it comes. Shaking his head, Ning Yu leaped up and jumped into the battlefield of massacre like Qian Kun. "I have to say, you are very arrogant." Qian Kun looked at Ning Yu in front of her and said in a low voice, "Ever since I advanced to the Celestial King realm, you are the first rank 4 half-step Celestial King to have a battle of life and death with me." "It is my honor," Ning Yu said indifferently. "Hee, you sure are calm." Qian Kun smiled and said, "What a pity. If you hadn't killed Qian Bo, I could have taken you as a slave." "So much nonsense." Ning Yu rolled his eyes and said, "I really don't understand how a piece of trash like you managed to cultivate to the Immortal King realm. Trying to provoke me? You're too naive." Qian Kun was unmoved. In a battle between experts, the slightest bit of carelessness would result in a calamity. Furthermore, it was a fight to the death between him and Ning Yu. If Qian Kun hadn't suppressed his cultivation base to the 4th stage half-step Immortal King realm, he was absolutely confident that he could kill Ning Yu. However, after suppressing his cultivation base to the 4th stage half-step Immortal King realm, Qian Kun didn't have much confidence in killing Ning Yu. So, he definitely wouldn't choose to take the initiative. His strategy was to use inaction to counter myriad movements. Unexpectedly, Ning Yu had the same thoughts as him. If the enemy does not move, I will not move. All of a sudden, on the battlefield there was a cycle. Ning Yu and Qian Kun used words to provoke each other, but didn't take the initiative to attack. "What are they doing?" Eastern Venerable was a little dissatisfied and said, "A dignified Immortal King realm expert is actually so hesitant against a 4th stage half-step Immortal King realm. No wonder the Qian clan sent him to Eastern City." The Qian clan was a colossus in the Immortal Court. Ordinary Qian clan Immortal Kings, mostly cultivated in the Immortal Court. Qian Kun was chosen to leave the Immortal Court and come to Eastern City because he was more careful and had poor talent. In the Immortal Court Qian clan, although Qian Kun was an Immortal King, his status was very low. Eastern Venerable, according to our previous agreement, I will remain neutral in another half an hour. Northern Venerable, transmitted his voice to Eastern Venerable. As the ruler of Northern City, Northern Venerable didn't want to completely offend Xiao Duanya, especially Xiao Duanya's performance, which made him very nervous. There was no other reason. He discovered that Xiao Duanya's cultivation base was very likely to be at the Intermediate Immortal King realm. An Intermediate Immortal King realm expert had an overwhelming advantage against an early Immortal King realm expert. "No problem," Eastern Venerable said in a deep voice. In order to invite Northern Venerable to support him, he had paid a huge price. Just think about it. If it wasn't for Northern Venerable, he would have been completely suppressed by Western Venerable and Tai Muqiang. Can Ning Yu defeat Qian Kun? On the other side, Tai Muqiang stared at Ning Yu and Qian Kun in the battlefield with a slightly worried expression. Qian Kun was an immortal king. In the life and death battle between Ning Yu and Qian Kun, the chances of him winning were not too high. It's hard to say. Western Venerable shook his head and said in a deep voice, "Since Ning Yu dares to have a life and death battle with Qian Kun, it means that he has the confidence." "It's good to have confidence, but I'm afraid," Tai Muqiang didn't continue his sentence. Swish! At the same time, in the battlefield, Qian Kun finally couldn't take it anymore and started to move. Stepping on the ground, Qian Kun turned into a shadow and appeared in front of Ning Yu. He clenched his right fist. Qian Kun punched at Ning Yu's head with a terrifying energy wave. Qian Kun didn't use his full strength in the first move. Instead, he used 30% of his strength to test Ning Yu's strength. Good move. Looking at Qian Kun, who was approaching him, Ning Yu took a step forward and clenched his right fist. Bang! The two fists collided. Ning Yu and Qian Kun were both sent flying several feet away and retreated to the edge of the battlefield. This attack, Ning Yu and Qian Kun were evenly matched. Neither could do anything to the other. "He's so strong." Qian Kun was shocked. Through this move, he could basically conclude that Ning Yu's strength was extremely formidable. Even if he didn't suppress his cultivation to the 4th stage half-step to Immortal King, he would need to spend some effort to defeat Ning Yu. Now that he had suppressed his cultivation to the 4th stage half-step to Immortal King, the difficulty of defeating Ning Yu would probably increase by several times. Taking a deep breath, Qian Kun looked at Ning Yu coldly and said, "Your strength is SOO. Now I'll give you a chance to live. Kneel and kowtow to me a few times. Otherwise, I'll let you know what cruelty is. Have you lost your mind?" Ning Yu's mouth was slightly open as he looked at Qian Kun in surprise. In a battle of life and death, Qian Kun wanted him to submit. Either his head was rusty or it was filled with water. "I'll also give you a word," Ning Yu said lightly. "Submit to me, or this day next year will be the anniversary of your death." Arrogant, Qian Kun flew into a rage. He was an immortal king, and he was qualified to make Ning Yu submit. Who did Ning Yu think he was? A mere 4th stage half-step to Immortal King dared to speak to him like this. Although he was angry, Qian Kun did not lose his reason. He twisted his neck and said coldly, "Because of your stupidity, I've decided to cut you into pieces and grind your bones to ashes." Noisy. Ning Yu interrupted Qian Kun's words, and his figure flashed as he suddenly dashed out. When two people fought, once the momentum was broken, these harsh words would be useless. To put it simply, if Qian Kun said these harsh words before he attacked, it might have a deterrent effect. Chapter 2400. Defeat Dai. Looking at Ning Yu, who was charging at him, Qian Kun's face turned cold. He gathered all the energy in his body on his fist and punched out with a backhand. This punch, Qian Kun did not hold back. After all, no matter what, he was a Celestial King stage powerhouse. Although he had suppressed his cultivation to that of a level 4 half-step Immortal King, he was evenly matched with Ning Yu, who was also a level 4 half-step immortal king. If this matter spread out, he would lose face. Therefore, the next punch was very important to him. If he could kill Ningyu in a domineering manner, then he could still save his face. Once he was blocked by Ningyu, he would lose face. I'm serious. Although Ningyu was taking the initiative to attack, he did not dare to relax. Qian Kun, who was an immortal king, should not be underestimated. Sky-reaching disc. At this critical moment, Ningyu shook his wrist and took out a middle-stage immortal king magic treasure, the sky-reaching disc. Chi-Chi, the energy in his body, was constantly injected into the sky-reaching disc. With the injection of energy, the sky-reaching disc became bigger and bigger. In the end, it even enveloped the entire battlefield within it. Next, Ningyu raised his hands gently and suddenly pressed down. Whoosh! The huge, sky-reaching disc pressed down on Qian Kun at an extremely terrifying speed. I'm going to kill you. Seeing the sky-reaching disc that almost enveloped the whole battlefield pressing down on him, Qian Kun cursed. Helpless, he could only clench his teeth and hit the sky-reaching disc with his right hand. Bang! In a flash, Qian Kun's fist collided with the sky-reaching disc. The two collided. The sky-reaching disc stood in midair and scathed. On the other hand, Qian Kun's right hand was broken and his body was smashed into the ground. Crack! The heart-wrenching pain from his broken fist made Qian Kun's face pale. His aura began to decline rapidly. Swoosh! One hit was successful. Ningyu did not stop. He stomped on the ground and dashed out again. Hit the snake where it hurts. Don't hold back. When dealing with a celestial king powerhouse like Qian Kun, Ningyu would definitely not hold back. It seems like Qian Kun is going to lose. Seeing as Ningyu attacked again, the Eastern Venerable Lord's face turned ghastly. He chose to support Qian Kun. If Qian Kun was killed in the end, one could imagine how miserable his end would be. Although he would not die, he had offended two immortal king experts, the Western Reverend and Tai Muqiang. Even if he entered the immortal court, he would not be able to move an inch. Time's up. Needless to say, to Eastern Venerable One, it was truly a case of misfortune. The Venerable of the North said to him expressionlessly. Damn it! Dongfang Venerable cursed in his heart. According to the agreement, once the time was up, the Venerable One of the North would remain neutral. Now that the agreed time had passed, it meant that he had to face pressure from both Tai Muqiang and the Western Venerable One. Even Xiao Duanya would give him some pressure. Damn it! How unlucky! Dongfang Venerable One was so angry that his nose became crooked. He was so angry that he wanted to send a voice transmission to Qian Kun. Hold on. No matter what, you have to kill Ningyu forcefully. Otherwise, puff! However, before Dongfang Venerable could finish his words, he felt a sweetness in his throat and a stream of blood spurted out. It was obvious. Xiao Duanya had made his move. Looking at Dongfang Venerable One coldly, Xiao Duanya said calmly, I've said before that no one is allowed to participate in the battle between Ningyu and Qian Kun. Do you want to go in and spar with Ningyu? Swoosh! Xiao Duanya's slightly threatening words caused Dongfang Venerable One to immediately become obedient. In front of absolute power, he did not dare to be impudent. If Qian Kun was killed by Ningyu, then even if he were to face Ningyu, he would not dare to say that he would be able to win. After all, his power was only slightly higher than Qian Kun's. At this moment, in the battlefield, there was suddenly a scream that sounded like a pig being slaughtered. Without a doubt, that scream was made by Qian Kun. Just now, his right hand had been shattered by the sky-reaching disc, and now his left hand had been shattered. Explode! In a moment of desperation, Qian Kun shouted loudly, wanting to undo the seal in his body. He was a celestial king level expert. The reason why he was suppressed by Ningyu was, in his opinion, because he had suppressed his cultivation to the 4th stage. half a step to Celestial King level. As long as he undid the seal in his body, killing Ning Yu would be a piece of cake. Breaking the rules, first warning. However, just as Qian Kun was about to undo the seal in his body, Xiao Duanya's cold voice sounded. Whoosh! Immediately after, a terrifying cold light suddenly shot out of the void and fiercely hit Xiao Duanya's chest. The huge force that came from his chest caused Qian Kun to fly out and crash heavily on the edge of the battlefield. Puff, puff, puff. He continuously spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. Qian Kun's aura, which was already weak, became even weaker. Whoosh! Ning Yu did not care about Qian Kun's miserable state. He chased after him and instantly arrived beside Qian Kun. Don't kill me. I can give you everything I have. Seeing that Ning Yu wanted to kill him, Qian Kun panicked and said hurriedly, Also, I am the actual controller of the Qian family in Oriental City. As long as you let me go, I will make the Qian family listen to your orders. From now on, you can do whatever you want in Oriental City. Oh! Ning Yu stopped in his tracks and looked at Qian Kun with interest. He said, What about the Eastern Venerable? I think he won't be satisfied if I do whatever I want in Oriental City. He wouldn't dare. I am a member of the Qian family. He definitely wouldn't dare to do anything to you. Qian Kun was already panicking. In order to survive, he dared to scheme against anyone, let alone the Eastern Venerable. Crack, crack, crack. Outside the battlefield, the Eastern Venerable clenched his fists tightly, making cracking sounds. He had originally cooperated with Qian Kun to kill Ning Yu and then recommend his own people to the Immortal Court. But now, Qian Kun's sudden betrayal had ruined his plan. How about this? Take out your things and give them to me first. Ning Yu stretched out his right hand and said indifferently, Swish, swish. Qian Kun did not dare to delay and hurriedly threw 2 interspatial rings to Ning Yu. Clap, clap. Ning Yu reacted quickly and caught the interspatial rings before they fell to the ground. He released his perception and entered the interspatial rings. 5 ascension pills, an early-stage Immortal King battle armor, and an early-stage Immortal King flying sword. There were not many things in the interspatial rings, only these 3, but each of them was very valuable, including the 2 ascension pills he had. Ning Yu now had a total of 7 ascension pills. An early-stage Immortal King flying sword was not particularly useful. After all, Ning Yu had an intermediate-stage Immortal King sky-reaching disc, but he could give it to the Red Devil to devour. An early-stage Immortal King battle armor was not bad. Using it, he could block an all-out attack from an early-stage Immortal King expert. Qian Kun could use these things to fight against the enemy in a normal battle. The key was that Qian Kun had suppressed his cultivation to a 4th-stage half-step Immortal King. Moreover, Ning Yu had defeated him, causing him to suffer in silence. Chapter 2401. Chapter 2401. Chapter 2401 Abnormal. Can I go now? Seeing Ning Yu accept the 2 space rings, Qian Kun said cautiously, I have given you the things and I will admit defeat. As long as you tell Xiao Duanya, I promise to leave immediately. Leave? Who said you can leave? Ning Yu raised his eyebrows and said, I only said you give me the things first. I didn't say I would let you go. You. Qian Kun was furious. He had thought that after compromising, Ning Yu would let him go. Who would have thought that Ning Yu was far more terrifying than he had imagined, knowing that letting a tiger go back to the mountains would cause endless trouble? With a cold face, Qian Kun said in a deep voice, Tell me, what do you want? It's very simple. Open your mind and let me control you, Ning Yu said with a shrug. Okay. Qian Kun nodded heavily, then closed his eyes and completely opened his mind. Qian Kun's action made Ning Yu a little confused. Logically, Qian Kun could not really open his mind and let him control it. Since Qian Kun did this, it meant that, thinking of this, Ning Yu's expression changed slightly and he hurriedly retreated. Swish! Ning Yu had just retreated a few steps when Qian Kun in the distance turned into a shadow and disappeared. Crack! At the same time, the void in front of him suddenly split open, and Qian Kun appeared from within. You are still too inexperienced to fight with me, Qian Kun shouted, then raised his right leg and kicked hard at Ning Yu's head. 5 promotion pills, an early stage Celestial King armor, and an early stage Celestial King flying sword. Just these 3 things could trick Ning Yu into letting his guard down. This was not a bad deal at all. Sky-reaching disc. At the moment of danger, Ning Yu took out the sky-reaching disc and put it in front of his head. I'm behind you. However, as soon as Ning Yu took out the sky-reaching disc, Qian Kun appeared behind him. This time, Qian Kun didn't hesitate to consume his blood essence to give Ning Yu a fatal blow. Immortal King battle armor. Ning Yu sensed that something was wrong. He hurriedly took out his Immortal King armor, intending to forcefully resist Qian Kun's kick. Kacha! His right foot came into contact with the Immortal King battle armor. Qian Kun was fine. However, the Immortal King battle armor had shattered right away. It's fake. In an instant, Ning Yu's expression changed drastically. Qian Kun was indeed up to no good. The Celestial King battle armor given to him was actually fake. One could imagine. If the Celestial King battle armor was fake, then the Celestial King flying sword and lifting Duandan were definitely fake as well. Energy. The information flashed across Ning Yu's mind. Following this, he unleashed all the energy stored in the cliff pool. Boom! In an instant, the energy exploded. The terrifying shockwave from the explosion sent Qian Kun flying, heavily crashing into the ground. Uft! Crimson blood spurted out. Qian Kun's entire aura dropped to the freezing point. You. Looking at Ning Yu with a cold expression, Qian Kun's eyes widened and his face was filled with disbelief. He really could not understand how Ning Yu could so easily block the punch that he had used all his strength. How could the energy that Ning Yu had unleashed just now be so terrifying? Swoosh! Just as Qian Kun was secretly pondering, Ning Yu had already arrived in front of him. With the previous lesson, this time, Ning Yu would not hold back. He directly took out the red demon sword and stabbed it straight into Qian Kun's heart. Chi! The devouring power shot out from the red demon sword and began to frantically devour the energy in Qian Kun's body. It did not take long. Qian Kun's entire body turned into human skin. Sha! Ning Yu squatted down and began to search Qian Kun's body. After a while, Ning Yu stood up and a space ring appeared in his hand. He released his perception and entered the storage bag. 10 ascension pills, 2 early-stage Immortal King battle armor, 1 early-stage Immortal King flying sword, as well as some scattered pills, medicinal herbs, and low-level magic treasures. Ning Yu nodded in satisfaction. These things were definitely real. I will keep the ascension pills, the Immortal King battle armor, and the flying sword and other things for Red Demon to devour. Ning Yu quickly made a judgment. Other than the ascension pills and the Immortal King battle armor, he would give everything else to Red Demon. However, Ning Yu had obviously overestimated the Dark Emperor and the others. As soon as those things entered the Red Demon's sword, the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu began to fight over them. Forget it. Ning Yu rolled his eyes and didn't bother with them. Crack! At this moment, a crack appeared on the battlefield, and Ning Yu walked out from it. Ning Yu, you're finished. If you dare to kill Qian Kun, no one in the world can save you. Seeing Ning Yu come out, the Eastern Venerable's face was extremely cold, and he said fiercely, Qian Kun is the immortal king of the immortal court's Qian family. If you kill Qian Kun, it means that you have offended the immortal court's Qian family. To tell you the truth, In the Immortal Court's Qian family, there are many Immortal King experts like Qian Kun. Once you enter the Immortal Court, you will be hunted down by them. The Eastern Venerable's words were vicious, and coupled with the changes in his expression, it was a pity that he didn't study acting. Ning Yu stopped beside the Eastern Venerable and said calmly, "Although I have just experienced a great battle, if someone insists on provoking me, I don't mind sparring with him. Of course, the premise is that he dares to suppress his cultivation to the 4th stage half-step Immortal King realm." You, the Eastern Venerable, was furious. Ning Yu was obviously looking down on him, mocking him, and trying to provoke him. He took a deep breath. The Eastern Venerable gradually calmed down. Sparring with Ning Yu at this time was obviously an irrational action. It would be fine if he won, but if he lost, he would be in an irrecoverable situation. Humph! You only know how to use your tongue. The Eastern Venerable snorted coldly and said, "You could kill Qian Kun because he suppressed his cultivation to the 4th stage half-step Immortal King realm. Stop! Ning Yu raised his right hand and pressed it down slowly and said, "A loss is a loss. How can there be so many ifs in this world? If you're not convinced, I'll wait and see. Otherwise, shut up. I'm so angry." The Eastern Venerable was provoked by Ning Yu, and he was instantly enraged. He took a step forward and said coldly, "I want to spar with you, a battle of life and death." Whoosh! The Dongfang Venerable One's irrational behavior surprised the others. The Western Venerable and Tai Muqiang even thought that the Eastern Venerable had gone crazy. The Northern Venerable looked at Ning Yu thoughtfully, and no one knew what he was thinking. The rules are the same as before. Whoever kills the other person will keep the other person's belongings. The Eastern Venerable looked at Ning Yu provocatively and said proudly, "Do you dare?" "Something's wrong." Ning Yu did not answer the Eastern Venerable immediately. Instead, he released his senses and began to check the things he obtained from Qian Kun. There must be something wrong when something was abnormal. Chapter 2402. Freak! Swoosh! At the thought of this, Ning Yu immediately released his perception and started to check the promotion pills and Immortal King armor. Hiss! It was fine if he didn't check. After checking, Ning Yu gasped. The promotion pills were normal, but the Immortal King armor was the key. As expected, one of the 2 Immortal King armors was not early-stage Immortal King, but late-stage Immortal King. What was a late-stage Immortal King armor? Even if it was ambushed by a mid-stage Immortal King expert, it could survive. No wonder Venerable Dongfang wants to have a life-and-death battle with me. The corners of Ning Yu's mouth curled up slightly. Since Venerable Dongfang wanted a life-and-death battle, there was no need for him to refuse. Anyway, he could use the Immortal King armor when necessary. Of course, Ning Yu was not a fool. The premise of his battle with Venerable Dongfang was that Venerable Dongfang would suppress his cultivation base to the 4th stage half-step Immortal King. Otherwise, he would not be willing no matter how much benefits Venerable Dongfang offered. This was a matter of life and death, and it was not a game. "What's your decision?" Seeing that Ning Yu was a little tempted, Eastern Reverend quickly struck while the iron was hot and said, "I won't take advantage of you. I'll definitely suppress my cultivation base to the 4th stage half-step Immortal King realm. I have just experienced a huge battle." Although he wanted to have a life-and-death battle with Venerable Dongfang, Ning Yu did not show it on his face. He said hesitantly, "If I fight you now, I am afraid there will be an accident. Accidents are inevitable in a life-and-death battle." Venerable Dongfang said hurriedly, "As you have just experienced a huge battle, I have decided to let you recover for half an hour. We will start the battle after half an hour." "Sorry, I think you have misunderstood me." Ning Yu waved his hand and said indifferently, "What I mean is that fighting with Qian Kun has exhausted too much of my energy. Unless I can recover to my peak state as soon as possible, Our battle will have to be postponed to the immortal court. There is no need to wait that long. Venerable Dongfang flicked his wrist and threw out a silver-white pill. Pa! Ning Yu stretched out his right hand and firmly caught the pill in his hand. Ning Yu released his perception and examined the pill for a bit before expressing his satisfaction. He could tell. The Eastern Venerable One had shown absolute sincerity in order for him to have a death match with him. This medicinal pill was an immortal king grade medicinal pill. Moreover, he didn't do anything. He could tell. It was obvious that the Eastern Venerable One had cut off all means of retreat and would not rest until he achieved his goal. Taking a deep breath, Ning Yu threw the pill into his mouth without another word. Kacha! As soon as the pill entered his mouth, it instantly turned into a medicinal liquid and flowed down his throat into Ning Yu's abdomen. Under Ning Yu's powerful devouring power, it quickly turned into useful energy. So terrifying! Seeing as Ning Yu's aura skyrocketed at a terrifying speed, the Eastern Venerable Master's face darkened. At this moment, his heart began to waver. Originally, he thought that even if he suppressed his cultivation to a 4th stage, half-step immortal king, he would still be able to kill Ning Yu easily. But now he felt that he only had a 70% chance of winning. Actually, a 70% chance of winning was already considered very high. However, the Eastern Venerable One had always been more cautious. Ning Yu's actions made him feel extremely pressured. Fight! After thinking for a few seconds, the Eastern Venerable One gritted his teeth and said in a low voice, Ning Yu, I will ask you one last time. Do you agree to my request for a death match? Of course I do. Why wouldn't I agree? Ning Yu shrugged and said, It would be a waste not to take a benefit that is delivered to my doorstep. Arrogant, the Eastern Venerable One roared, then shifted his gaze to Xiao Duanya and said coldly, I want to have a death match with Ning Yu. I hope you can take out another battlefield scroll. Get lost. Xiao Duanya rolled his eyes at the Eastern Venerable One and scolded. This is Broken Cliff City, not Eastern City. Moreover, even if this was Eastern City, if I don't agree, you can't fight. I will suppress my cultivation to a 4th stage, half-step immortal king. The Eastern Venerable One said in a low voice. Xiao Duanya did not reply. 3-stage, half-step immortal king. The Eastern Venerable One said fiercely. Xiao Duanya still did not reply. 3-stage, half-step immortal king. This is the limit. The Eastern Venerable One's eyes were about to split open as he said angrily, I will suppress my cultivation to a 3rd stage, half-step immortal king and have a death match with Ning Yu. Our lives and deaths will be determined by fate. No one else can interfere with us. City Lord Xiao, I think this is fine. Ning Yu's eyes lit up and he said, We can't discourage the Eastern Venerable One's enthusiasm. Xiao Duanya's face was filled with black lines. The Western Venerable One's face was filled with black lines. Tai Muqiang's face was filled with black lines. Even the person involved, the Eastern Venerable One's face was filled with black lines. From Ning Yu's tone, it was obvious that he did not think much of him. I will let you know what cruelty is. The Eastern Venerable One thought to himself as he stared at Ning Yu. All right. Xiao Duanya thought for a moment, then said, Since you want to have a death match, then don't waste my battlefield scroll. The Western Venerable One and I will watch. If anyone dares to cheat, we will kill him on the spot. I have no objections. Ning Yu raised both his hands and said, I have no objections either. The Eastern Venerable One's expression was cold and gloomy. Xiao Duanya's words were obviously more inclined towards Ning Yu. However, he was confident in himself. Taking a deep breath, the Eastern Venerable One extended his right hand, pointed at Ning Yu and said, I will let you make the first move. Otherwise, you might not even have the chance to beg for mercy. Thank you. Ning Yu did not stand on ceremony with the Eastern Venerable One. He stomped on the ground, and his body instantly shot out. Almost in an instant, Ning Yu arrived in front of the Eastern Venerable One and punched the Eastern Venerable One's head with the horrifying energy in his body. Ning Yu's punch looked ordinary on the surface, and its lethality was extremely weak. However, that was not the case. An ordinary fifth-stage half-step to a mortal king would be instantly killed by such a punch. The Eastern Venerable One had suppressed his cultivation to third-stage half-step to a mortal king, and his overall strength had obviously decreased. Under such circumstances, if Ning Yu wanted to kill him, wouldn't it be a matter of 3 moves? Bang! The first move, Ning Yu repelled the Eastern Venerable One. Puchi! The second move, Ning Yu beat the Eastern Venerable One until he spat out blood and his face turned pale. Boom! The third move, Ning Yu used his full strength and smashed the Eastern Venerable One's head on the spot. Blood and flesh flew everywhere. Swoosh! The death of the Eastern Venerable One caused the expressions of the surrounding martial artists to change drastically, killing the Eastern Venerable One in 3 moves. Although the Eastern Venerable One had suppressed his cultivation to third-stage half-step to a mortal king, his strength was not weak. Compared to when he was dealing with Qian Kun just now, Ning Yu's strength had increased greatly again. Freak? Chapter 2403. Chapter 2403. New YORK. Everyone has to die. We've picked up a treasure. It was different from what the Venerable of the West had expected. The Venerable of the West and Tai Muqiang looked at each other and saw the excitement in each other's eyes. From the beginning, they had placed their bets on Ning Yu. They had thought that Ning Yu would have a hard time getting through this crisis. Who would have thought? Ning Yu had displayed such terrifying combat power, killing Qian Kun and the Venerable of the East. One had to know, Qian Kun and the Venerable of the East were both immortal king experts. How strong was Ning Yu? That was what Tai Muqiang and the Venerable of the West were thinking. However, they would not foolishly ask Ning Yu, because Ning Yu was searching the body of the Venerable of the East, hoping to find some treasures. I can't believe it. After searching the Venerable of the East for more than 10 minutes, Ning Yu cursed. There was no other reason. The immortal king-level Venerable of the East was actually a pauper. Up and down, inside and outside, front and back, Ning Yu searched all the places on the body of the Venerable of the East. However, the results were not satisfactory. A leveling pill, some low-level magic treasures and elixirs. If not for the fact that no one had approached the Venerable of the East, Ning Yu would have suspected that someone else had done something. Devour. Since there was nothing good on the Venerable of the East, Ning Yu began to use his devouring power to devour the energy in the body of the Venerable of the East. Ning Yu knew his own cultivation very well. He was now a 4th stage, half-step immortal king. No matter how much energy he devoured, he would not be able to raise his cultivation to the 5th stage, half-step immortal king. However, the energy he devoured could be used to refine his body. By using the energy to refine his body, Ning Yu could very possibly raise his body to the intermediate immortal king level. At this moment, Ning Yu's body was only at the peak of the early immortal king level, still a distance away from the intermediate immortal king level. Obviously, Ning Yu wanted to use the Venerable of the East to make up for this distance. Chi. As time went by, the Eastern Venerable One's body gradually shriveled up. Not long later, just like Qian Kun, the Eastern Venerable One had turned into a piece of human skin. With Qian Kun as an example, Xiao Duanya and the others were not surprised that the Eastern Venerable One had turned into human skin. Instead, they felt that it was only natural. Your strength has reached the requirement. Prepare to follow us to the immortal court in the next 3 days. Xiao Duanya's feet stepped onto the ground, and he directly tunneled into the void, disappearing without a trace. After he left, Tai Muqiang, the Western Reverend, and the others also left. In an instant, in the entire area, Only Ningyu and Madman were left. Ningyu and Feng Zi looked at each other without saying a word. After a while, Madman broke the silence and said, "You are very strong, far beyond my imagination." "Thank you." Ningyu expressed his gratitude. "I'm going to find a place to recuperate. Do you want to come?" Madman asked tentatively. "There's no need to recuperate. Just follow me to Dongfang City." How could Ningyu not know what Madman was thinking? Since Qian Kun was killed, he definitely wanted to go to Dongfang City to wreak havoc. Otherwise, it was not his style. "We'll split it 50-50. Madman stretched out 5 fingers and said, "I know where the Qian family's treasure is hidden. When the time comes, I'll lead the way and get rid of some rascals. As for you, you'll be in charge of stopping the Qian family's experts." "No problem." Ningyu was not the kind of person to haggle over minor matters. Without Madman leading the way, even if he went to the Qian family, it would be hard for him to find the treasure. "There's no time to lose. Let's go." Madman did not waste any time. He stretched out his hands, tore the void, and dived in. Swoosh! Ningyu first tried to contact Lin Lang and Rong Hao and gave them some instructions. Then he followed Madman and left. F***CK. They didn't bring me along for such a good thing. In a restaurant in Duanya City, Lin Lang was so angry that his nose was crooked. He waited for Ningyu for 7 days, but in the end, Ningyu went straight to the Qian family and made him wait in Duanya City. He knew Ningyu's character very well. Ningyu would never do anything that didn't bring him benefits. Since Ningyu went to the Qian family this time, it meant that there must be benefits. Swish! There was no hesitation. Lin Lang jumped up and hurriedly bid farewell to Rong Hao and Du Shida. He used a secret technique to rush to Dongfang City, wanting to reach Dongfang City before Ningyu. It was proven. If Lin Lang was serious, his speed would be extremely fast. Under his full speed, he actually reached the entrance of Dongfang City before Ningyu and Madman. "You win." At the entrance of Dongfang City, Ningyu looked at Lin Lang, who was disguised as an elegant young master, rolled his eyes, and said, "I'll act as a young master. You and Madman are my study attendants." As he spoke, Ningyu took out a folding fan from his sleeve and fanned himself elegantly. Madman and Lin Lang were speechless. Sha sha sha! The two of them hurriedly sped up and entered Dongfang City. Luckily, they were all in disguise. Otherwise, with their faces, the Qian family and the city, Lord's Mansion, would probably know very quickly. After all, the news that Qian Kun and the Eastern Venerable were killed by Ningyu had already been known by the Qian family and the city, Lord's Mansion. They were now discussing how to pressure Xiao Duanya to hand over Ningyu. Crack! At the same time, Dongfang City, City Lord's Mansion. The Qian family's grand elder slammed the table with his right hand, shattering the rosewood table. "I will definitely report this matter to the immortal courts, Qian family, and make Ningyu pay the price he deserves." The Qian family's grand elder's eyes bulged as he said fiercely, "For Corner City, including Duanya City, had immortal king experts. Now that the Eastern Venerable and Qian Kun, the Qian family's immortal king, had died in battle, it directly caused Dongfang City to become the weakest city among the 5 major cities. Falling behind meant getting beaten up. Being weak was the original sin. The Qian family's grand elder knew that the Dongfang City's Qian family's disaster was coming. Therefore, he immediately rushed to the City Lord's Mansion, hoping to cooperate with the City Lord's Mansion to face this disaster together. Don't panic. The person in charge of the City Lord's Mansion was an old man dressed in gray. The old man's name was Xiao Wenqing, and he had the cultivation of a 5th stage half-step immortal king. Actually, strictly speaking, Xiao Wenqing was the most excited about the death of the Eastern Venerable and Qian Kun. His strength could be said to be the number 1 person below the immortal king level. Of course, this was his self-proclaimed title. No one would admit it. Xia Wenqing had always hoped that the Eastern Venerable and Qian Kun could both die. Now his wish had actually come true. He appeared to be grieving, but he was actually very excited. Dongfang City's Xia Wenqing's era was coming. Why am I not panicking? The Qian family's grand elder said coldly. Xia Wenqing, don't think that you can stop Ningyu just because you have a few fifth-stage half-step immortal kings in the city, Lord's Mansion. Let me tell you, Ningyu can even kill immortal king experts, let alone fifth-stage half-step immortal kings. Chapter 2404. Chapter 2404. New YORK wait in silence, haha. Chen Chao, aren't you making a mountain out of a molehill? Xia Wenqing smiled and said, I've already known about the incident where Ning, you killed Qian Kun and Dongfang Venerable. At that time, Qian Kun and Dongfang Venerable suppressed their cultivation base to the fourth stage half-step immortal king realm. Otherwise, how could Ning you kill them? In my opinion, you should obediently return to the Qian clan. Now that Qian Chuangong has been killed, the Qian clan must be in a mess. You can take advantage of this opportunity to take control of the Qian clan. In that case, enough. Without waiting for Xia Wenqing to finish his words, Qian Chao growled and said coldly, Xia Wenqing, I overestimated you. From today onwards, our Qian clan and your city, Lord's Mansion, will not interfere with each other. If something happens, don't ask for help from the other party. Whoosh! At this moment, a figure suddenly flew over from afar and landed in front of Xia Wenqing, Chen Chao, and the others. This is bad, this is bad. The martial artist shouted as soon as he appeared. Why are you so flustered? What a scandal! Qian Chao's face turned cold as he said in a deep voice, Qian Lu, what exactly happened? Tell me in detail. This was the City Lord Manor, Xia Wenqing's territory. Now, the fifth elder of the Qian clan, Qian Lu, appeared to be extremely flustered. It was obvious that Xia Wenqing was laughing at him. Ning, Ning, Ning. Ning Yu has killed his way to the Qian family. Qian Lu stammered as he hurriedly shouted. What? Hearing Qian Li's words, Qian Chao instantly stood up with his eyes wide open. Ning, you killed his way to the Qian family? Ning Yu, Frenzy, and a young man. The three of them have already broken into the Qian family and are heading towards the Qian family's treasure pavilion. Qian Lu said breathlessly, Come, follow me back. Qian Chao made a prompt decision and decided to return to the Qian family immediately. After Qian Kun's death, he had already regarded the treasures in the treasury as his exclusive property. Ning Yu and Madman wanted to rob the hidden treasure pavilion. How could he be willing? Swish, swish, swish. Next, Qian Chao, Qian Lu, and the rest of the Qian clan's experts tore open the rift and disappeared. Seeing that Qian Chao and the others had disappeared, a fourth-stage half-step immortal king middle-aged man turned to Xia Wenqing and asked, Vice City Lord Xia, what should we do now? What should we do? Of course it's to help Qian Kun and the others. Xia Wenqing rolled his eyes. Was there a need to ask? The Qian clan and the City Lord Mansion were close friends. Xia Wenqing knew better than anyone that the teeth would be interdependent. Previously, he had said that he wanted Qian Chao to return and that he did not want to help Qian Chao. However, in reality, he was negotiating terms and making Qian Chao pay a price. However, once the Qian family was in a life-and-death situation, he would definitely step forward to help. Bring along all the half-step immortal kings of the City Lord Mansion, whose cultivation base is above stage 3. Before leaving, Xia Wenqing's voice resounded in the middle-aged man's ears. The middle-aged man did not dare to delay and hurriedly followed Xia Wenqing's instructions to contact the powerhouses of the City Lord's Mansion. At the same time, Oriental City, Qian Family Courtyard. Ning Yu, Feng Zi, and Lin Lang, the three of them stood side by side. In front of them, there were a total of more than 10 martial artists. The cultivation base of these martial artists was at least stage 3 half-step Immortal King. There were even 4 martial artists whose cultivation base had reached stage 5 half-step Immortal King realm. Foundation. The Qian clan was a clan that had produced an Immortal King before. It was not surprising that they had 4 powerhouses whose cultivation base was at stage 5 half-step Immortal King realm. Lin Lang, I'll leave those 4 stage 5 half-step Immortal Kings to you. Ning Yu pointed to the few stage 5 half-step Immortal Kings in front of him and said, "Since you want to be with us, then you can't just take advantage of us without paying." "I'm not taking advantage of you." Lin Lang was so angry that his nose was crooked. He wished he could beat up Ning Yu. Just take advantage of us? It should be known that he was the one who helped to wipe out the Qian clan's cats and dogs just now. Ning Yu and Feng Zi did not do anything. He chose to endure all these. But now, Ning Yu actually wanted him to deal with stage 5 half-step Immortal Kings. Wasn't this nonsense? His cultivation base had not even advanced to stage 1 half-step Immortal King realm. It was fine for him to deal with some weak stage 5 half-step Immortal Kings. Ning Yu wanted him to deal with stage 5 half-step Immortal Kings. What was the difference between this and sending him to his death? "Let me go." Feng Zi's expression was calm as he said, "Leave these stage 5 half-step Immortal Kings to me. The rest, leave them to you and Lin Lang." Through Ning Yu's introduction, Feng Zi knew Lin Lang's name and identity. Feng Zi believed that he would not pass on the task of dealing with stage 5 half-step Immortal Kings. After all, there were still powerhouses from the Qian clan that had not appeared. Later, when the powerhouses from the Qian clan appeared, it would definitely be Ning Yu who would deal with them. Swish! Without waiting for Ning Yu's response, Feng Zi stomped his feet on the ground and immediately dashed out. Feng Zi's speed was very fast. Almost in an instant he arrived in front of one of the stage 5 half-step Immortal Kings. "Everyone, let's attack together. There are only 3 of them. With so many of us attacking together, we can definitely..." Pooh! However, the stage 5 half-step Immortal Kings words had just sounded when he felt his body lighten. Then he flew straight out and fell heavily to the ground. Dark red blood spurted out. This stage 5 half-step Immortal King died tragically on the spot. The first one. After killing a stage 5 half-step Immortal King with one move, Feng Zi did not stop but continued to attack. Bang! Bang! Then 3 crisp sounds rang out. The 3 stage 5 half-step Immortal Kings of the Qian clan instantly fell to the ground. They could only exhale but not inhale. Voila! Feng Zi's strong performance caused the remaining Qian clan martial artists to widen their eyes, and their faces were filled with disbelief. They knew that Feng Zi was strong, but they did not expect his strength to be so strong. Those were 4 stage 5 half-step Immortal King powerhouses. Feng Zi only used a few seconds to kill all of them. Such strength was probably infinitely close to that of a real Immortal King. "Quick, go and get the Great Elder." These people of the Qian clan were not stupid. When they saw 4 stage 5 half-step Immortal Kings die in battle, they all chose to retreat. Among them, an old man with a cultivation base of stage for half-step Immortal King raised his head and shouted, "Swoosh!" However, as soon as the old man finished speaking, Feng Zi immediately leaped up and came to his side. Crack! Feng Zi's attack was ruthless. He exerted a little force with his hands and directly twisted the old man's head off. Hiss! Madman's successive strong performances made the remaining experts of the Qian clan all suck in a breath of cold air. Originally, they wanted to go and get the Great Elder, but now they instantly changed their minds and decided to retreat to the vicinity of the Qian clan's treasure pavilion. Because there was a peerless great array near the treasure pavilion. The power of that great array was extremely strong. Even a real immortal king might not be able to easily break through it. Their idea was very simple. They would first go to the Great Array and hide for a while. When the Great Elder returned, he would naturally think of a way to fight against Feng Zi and the others. Chapter 2405. Death Anniversary. However, the ideal was plentiful, but the reality was harsh. If these Qian family experts wanted to leave, not to mention the madman, even Ning Yu wouldn't allow it. Ning Yu's idea was very simple. Since he had completely fallen out with the Qian family, he might as well take advantage of today to kill all the experts of the Qian family. Letting the tiger return to the mountain would cause endless troubles in the future. Swish! Ning Yu immediately stomped his feet on the ground and charged forward. Rumble! Together with the madman, Ning Yu performed a powerful attack. Puff! 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 Ning Yu and the madman were extremely ruthless. With almost every move, there would be a Qian family expert who died tragically. In just a few seconds, more than a dozen half-step immortal kings in the courtyard of the Qian family were all killed by Ning Yu and the madman. Let's go to the Qian family's treasure pavilion. The madman wasn't an indecisive person. After killing more than a dozen half-step immortal kings of the Qian family, he made a prompt decision and brought Ning Yu to the Qian family's treasure pavilion. Swish! Swish! The madman was in front, while Ning Yu and Lin Lang followed closely. Not long after, they stopped at the door of a sealed room. Crack! The madman clenched his right fist and suddenly punched out. In an instant, the door was blasted open. Without any hesitation, after the madman entered the room, he went straight to a painting in the middle. Creak! He gently moved the painting, only to see that the wall on one side of the room suddenly caved in. Go in! The madman moved his feet and entered the caved wall first. Ning Yu and Lin Lang still followed behind. Black! After entering the secret passage, Ning Yu's first feeling was black. Pitch black. The second feeling was incomparably dark. Hot. The third feeling was hot, very hot. Chi. The energy in his body gushed out, forming an energy shield around his body. With the energy shield, Ning Yu obviously felt much better. That incomparably hot feeling instantly disappeared. Swish! 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 Suddenly, 4 enormous pillars of light appeared and enveloped Ning Yu, Lin Lang, and the others. Not good. It's the Qian clan's unique formation. Seeing the beam of light, the madman's expression changed drastically. Ning, you might not know the name of the formation, but Madman knew it very well. He had seen the power of the formation before and knew that it was almost impossible to break it with his strength alone. Thus, the crazy madman shifted his gaze to Ning Yu and went straight to the point. This grand array is called the Immortal Sealing Array. It is said to be able to trap immortal kings. With my strength, I have no way to break it. The only thing we can do now is to join forces and see if we can break it. Let me. Before Ning Yu could answer, Lin Lang took a step forward and took out a crystal ball. Whoosh! He bit his finger and dripped a drop of blood into the crystal ball. Boom! All of a sudden, a beam of light as thick as a person's waist appeared and shot towards the 4 beams of light around it. Ka-ka-ka-ka! For consecutive cracking sounds could be heard. The 4 enormous beams of light instantly shattered. The shattering of the beams meant that the Immortal Sealing Array had been broken. Not simple. The crazy madman glanced at Lin Lang and walked towards the depths of the secret passage. Damn it! At the same time, at the entrance of the Qian clan, Qian Chao, who had just returned, had an extremely cold expression. He had a connection with the Immortal Sealing Array. Now that the Immortal Sealing Array had been broken, he was naturally the first to know. One had to know. The Immortal Sealing Array was one of his trump cards. He wanted to use the Immortal Sealing Array to trap Ning Yu and the others, then use another trump card to kill them. Now, it seemed like he had thought too much. Moreover, the immortal sealing array had been broken, which meant that Ningyu and the others had entered the treasure pavilion. The Qian clan's treasure pavilion had many treasures and pills. There were even rare items in the immortal dynasty. All of you must die. Qian Chao's expression was cold as he said fiercely, Qian Lu, contact the Northern Reverend and tell him to make a trip to the Qian clan. After giving the order, Qian Chao's figure flashed as he headed towards the treasure pavilion. There were many things in the treasure pavilion, and with the speed of Ningyu and the crazy madman, if he was any later, the treasure pavilion would have been emptied. Therefore, if he could reach the treasure pavilion earlier to stop Ningyu, he had to go there earlier. As for Qian Chao's actions, Ningyu and the crazy madman didn't know. At this moment, they were staring blankly at the huge amount of resources in the treasure pavilion. That's right, they were staring blankly. None of them had expected that there would be so many things in the Qian clan's treasure pavilion. Gulp, I'm rich. Lin Lang swallowed a mouthful of saliva and couldn't help but exclaim, with these things I can definitely cultivate to the 5th stage half-step immortal king. Ningyu glanced at Lin Lang and said faintly, your current cultivation is only at the peak of the half-step immortal king realm. There is still some distance from the 1st stage half-step immortal king realm. How are you going to charge to the 5th stage half-step immortal king realm? Sometimes, Ningyu really suspected that there was something wrong with Lin Lang. He was strong when encountering the strong, but he wasn't weak when encountering the weak. Every time he encountered an expert, Lin Lang would erupt with amazing combat power and display many trump cards. Ningyu had no doubt. If Lin Lang fought with the Qian clan's 5th stage half-step immortal king, he would probably be able to kill the Qian clan's 5th stage half-step immortal king. Don't attack me, okay? Lin Lang rolled his eyes and said, although my talent is a little better than yours, you can attack me. Don't worry, after I advance to the 5th stage half-step immortal king realm, I will definitely not mock you. Instead, I will be your strong support and shelter you from the wind and rain. Bang! Ning, you kicked Lin Lang's butt, causing him to fall to the ground. Be my strong support behind me? Why did this sound so awkward? It was fine for those who knew, but those who didn't would probably think that there was some relationship between them. Being kicked by Ningyu, Lin Lang wasn't angry. Instead, he chuckled and said, I've decided I will take 40% of the things in the treasure pavilion. Ningyu will take 30% and Madman will take 30%. Seeing that Ningyu and Madman were about to flare up, Lin Lang raised his right hand and slowly pressed it down. Don't be anxious, I have amazing attainments in arrays. The immortal sealing array outside was broken by me, and I guarantee that all the arrays that we encounter will be broken by me. You want to break all the arrays? At this moment, an indifferent voice sounded in Lin Lang's ears. Who? Lin Lang was shocked. He hurriedly turned his head and said in a deep voice, sneaking around, hurry up and come out. Hee, as you wish. A faint laughter sounded. At the next moment, a figure appeared in front of Ningyu and Lin Lang. Qian Chao. Ningyu and Lin Lang didn't know Qian Chao, but Madman knew him very well. He stared at Qian Chao with a cold expression and said, enemies don't meet. Today, if you don't die, it will be me. I knew there was something wrong with you. If not for Xiao Duanya protecting you, I would have killed you long ago. Chapter 2406. Chapter 2406. Chapter 2. For 6 confident or arrogant. Very strong. Seeing Qian Chao, Ningyu's expression was slightly solemn. Qian Chao might be the strongest of the 5th stage half-step immortal kings that he had met recently. From Qian Chao's body, Ningyu felt his heart palpitate. One had to know. He had only felt such a feeling from immortal king experts before. In other words, although Qian Chao was not an immortal king, he was only one step away from it. I'll leave it to you two. Lin Lang took a few steps back and retreated behind Ningyu and Crazy Z. Lin Lang was well aware of his own strength. When it came to breaking the formation, he did it accurately and quickly. But against a fifth-stage half-step Immortal King expert, it was no different from seeking death. Noisy. Qian Chao clenched his right fist and casually punched out. Xiao! In an instant, a fist light appeared, passing Ningyu and Crazy Z, heading straight for Lin Lang. I'm going to kill you. The sudden change caused Lin Lang to curse out loud. Ningyu and Crazy Z were both in front of him, but Qian Chao did not attack Ningyu and Crazy Z, but attacked him. Kacha! At the critical moment, Ningyu exerted some strength and punched, shattering the fist light. As expected of someone who could kill Qian Kun, his strength is not bad. Seeing his fist light shatter, Qian Chao was not angry, but looked at Ningyu with interest. There is no future with Xiao Duanya. Why don't you follow me? When we reach Immortal Court, I will report to Immortal Court Qian clan and give you many benefits. Do you think I'm stupid? Ningyu rolled his eyes and said, if you know what's good for you, let go of your mind and let Lin Lang control you, or else Lin Lang will definitely beat you up. Lin Lang's face was full of black lines. What time was this? Ningyu actually teased him. Could it be that Ningyu was really not afraid of Qian Chao? The facts proved that Ningyu was really not afraid of Qian Chao. No matter how strong Qian Chao was, he was still not a celestial king. Ever since Ningyu had cultivated in the steep cliff pool for 7 days, his overall strength was comparable to an early-stage Immortal King expert. Although it was difficult for him to kill an early-stage Immortal King expert, it was also difficult for an early-stage Immortal King expert to kill him. The strongest person below Celestial Kings, Ningyu's current battle prowess was fully deserving of being the number 1 person below the Celestial King realm. Unless Qian Chao advanced to become a Celestial King, he would not be much of a threat to him. I've seen arrogant people, but this is the first time I've seen someone as arrogant as you. Qian Chao looked at Ningyu coldly and said fiercely, this is the Qian family, not the Broken Cliff City. If you're smart, surrender as soon as possible. In this way, I can leave your corpse intact. Otherwise, on this day next year, it will be your Xiao. Before Qian Chao could finish his words, Ningyu's figure flashed, and he dashed out at a terrifying speed. Wasting time was not Ningyu's style. Moreover, as Qian Chao said, this was the Qian family. As a member of the Immortal Wang clan, Ningyu did not believe that the Qian family did not have any resources. Ningyu's idea was simple. First, he would control Qian Chao or kill him. Then he would take away everything in the treasure pavilion as soon as possible. After all, his next stop was the city lord's mansion. Since the Eastern Venerable One dared to issue a life-and-death challenge to him, someone had to pay for it. Obviously, the treasures of the city lord's mansion were the price that the Eastern Venerable One had to pay. Rumble. Looking at Ningyu, who was closing in on him, Qian Chao clenched his right fist and suddenly punched out. Qian Chao did not hold back at all in this punch. Even the void was shattered by the impact. In a flash, Ningyu's fist collided with Qian Chao's fist. When the two fists collided, the scene of Mars crashing into Earth did not appear. Instead, Ningyu and Qian Chao retreated several feet at the same time. Ningyu frowned slightly when he failed to defeat Qian Chao with one punch. He vaguely felt that something was not right. The power of Qian Chao's punch just now had reached the level of a celestial king. Qian Chao, who was a 5th stage half-step celestial king, could actually display an attack that was comparable to a celestial king powerhouse. Ningyu was very shocked. However, relatively speaking, Qian Chao was more shocked than Ningyu. There was no other reason. Qian Chao used his ultimate trump card in that attack just now. He thought that he could kill Ningyu with one punch. Who would have thought that he did not even injure him? Qian Chao could not understand. Could it be that Ningyu was already this strong? You're very strong. You're even stronger than I imagined. Taking a deep breath, Qian Chao said coldly, Heaven has the virtue of cherishing life. I'll give you one last chance. Whether you live or die is completely in your hands. You talk too much nonsense. Ningyu rolled his eyes and said, If you want to fight, then fight. If you don't want to fight, then get lost. Don't waste my time here. Waste your time? Don't you think you're a little too arrogant? Qian Chao said coldly. Too arrogant? I don't think so. Ningyu shrugged. Good, very good. I'll let you know the consequences of offending the Qian family and me. Qian Chao's face was extremely cold. He took out a crystal ball from his bosom and suddenly crushed it. Crack! As the crystal ball shattered, the ground behind Ningyu and Madman in the depths of the treasure pavilion suddenly caved in. Hua! Then, a bronze-colored puppet slowly appeared in front of Ningyu and the others. Celestial King Puppet. Yes, the cultivation of this puppet had reached the terrifying Celestial King level. Of course, although it was called in Celestial King Puppet, it was still a little short. The physical strength of this puppet had reached the Celestial King level, but the intensity of its energy and combat experience were still very different from a real Celestial King. Guadong, go kill him. Qian Chao pointed at Ningyu and said in a deep voice, Soldiers are trained for 1,000 days to be used in one day. If you can kill him today, I will provide you with a large amount of Celestial King's heart essence for you to awaken wisdom. Dong, dong, dong. He seemed to understand what Qian Chao meant. Guadong moved his feet and slowly walked towards Ningyu. With every step, the ground would shake a little. Half-awakened wisdom. Looking at the bronze-colored puppet walking towards him, Ningyu's face became extremely solemn. It was actually more difficult to fight against a puppet like this. Ningyu would rather face a real Celestial King than a Celestial King puppet. Are you confident? Next to him, Madman said in a deep voice, What can I do if I'm not confident? Ningyu said, You go and stall Qian Chao for me. Be sure to buy me 3 minutes. Swish! As his voice faded, Ningyu rushed out on the spot and attacked Guadong first. 3 minutes! Madman was a little dumbfounded. Listening to Ningyu's words, it seemed that he only needed 3 minutes to defeat the Celestial King puppet. To defeat a puppet comparable to the Celestial King level in 3 minutes, was Ningyu confident or arrogant? Kill! Chapter 2407. Chapter 2407. New YOR seizing control, damn it. Looking at Qian Chao, who was constantly approaching him, Madman cursed and immediately injected energy into his fist and punched out with a backhand. Bang! Madman's and Qian Chao's fists collided in an instant. Puchi! The result was a little different from before. Qian Chao stood on the spot and didn't move. On the other hand, the madman retreated several feet before stopping. Dark red blood spurted out, and Madman's face became pale without any color. Obviously, in this blow, Madman was at an absolute disadvantage. Overestimating yourself. Qian Chao glanced coldly at Madman and said fiercely, If not for Ningyu being here, the first to die today would be you. Swoosh! Qian Chao wanted to kill Madman, but the battlefield over there was beyond his expectations. The immortal king puppet Guadong did not gain any advantage in the fight with Ningyu. On the contrary, if the current script continued, the one who would be defeated in the end would not be Ningyu, but Guadong. So, Qian Chao had to temporarily put aside his grudge with Madman and turn to help Guadong to deal with Ningyu. Otherwise, after Guadong was killed, his fate would probably be as miserable. Where are you going? Seeing that Qian Chao wanted to help Guadong, Madman slapped the ground with both hands, and his body suddenly shot out. Ningyu said to hold on for 3 minutes, and now only 30 seconds had passed, and there were still 2.5 minutes left. Madman made up his mind that even if he was seriously injured today, he would stop Qian Chao. Courting death. Qian Chao was originally panicking, and with Madman desperately trying to stop him, it directly made him extremely angry. Turning his head, Qian Chao punched Madman's head. Crack! At the critical moment, Madman immediately moved sideways. Although Madman moved sideways, he was still hit in the chest by Qian Chao's fist, and the ribs in his chest were broken on the spot. Puff, puff, puff. 3 mouthfuls of dark red blood spurted out. Madman's pale face became even paler, and even his whole body could not help but tremble. He could tell Qian Chao's 2 attacks had pushed Madman to the brink of death. 2 more minutes. The madman stood up with difficulty and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He said with a ferocious expression, "Qian Chao, I'll pay you back double for bullying me now. You're about to die, yet you're still so stubborn." Qian Chao flew into a rage. In the distance, Gu Aodong was in a precarious situation, and he was being held back by Madman. Chi Chi. He waved his hands repeatedly, burning his blood essence. As he burned his blood essence, the madman's aura began to soar. The madman's cultivation was at the 5th stage of the half-step Immortal King realm. He was only a step away from becoming a true Immortal King. Now he was burning his blood essence to raise his aura, directly raising his aura to the extreme, reaching the critical line. Kill! Raising his head, Qian Chao roared and tore through the void. The next moment, Qian Chao appeared in front of the madman. He threw a punch with all his might at the madman's heart. This punch contained all of Qian Chao's energy. If the madman was unlucky enough to be hit, he would definitely die on the spot. Fight! The madman knew the power of Qian Chao's punch, but in order to block Qian Chao, he directly showed an expression of facing death. Crack! He took out a pill from his sleeve and threw it into his mouth. As soon as the pill entered his mouth, the madman's aura soared sharply. It was even faster than the speed at which Qian Chao's aura soared. Half a second passed. Qian Chao's aura had already soared to a level comparable to Qian Chao's. Bang! At this moment, Qian Chao's fist arrived in front of the madman. The madman resolutely punched out. Ka 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 ka. After one move, Ningyu and Qian Chao retreated at the same time. The madman's right hand was pulled back. His entire right hand was broken, and there was only a layer of skin hanging between it and his arm. As for Qian Chao, his ending was even more miserable than the madman. His entire right hand was broken and fell to the ground. Screams kept coming out from his mouth. Qian Chao was so angry that his nose was crooked. He didn't expect the madman to be so fierce. In order to seriously injure him, he didn't hesitate to use a suicide attack. After this move, even if the madman didn't die, he would only be hanging on by a thread. Moreover, the most important thing was that the madman was very likely to be unable to cultivate again and become a cripple from then on. Because in order to use that move just now, the madman's bones were all broken and his internal organs were all seriously injured. Bang! Suddenly, in the distance, Ningyu punched Gu Aodong's head. The head, which was comparable to the strength of the Immortal King's body, was hit by Ningyu's punch and shriveled. Gulp! Seeing Gu Aodong's miserable state, Qian Chao directly swallowed a mouthful of saliva. What kind of freak was Ningyu? Gu Aodong's body strength was comparable to the Immortal King powerhouse. Why would his head be hit by a punch and shriveled? Could it be that Ningyu's body strength was already comparable to the Immortal King? The more he thought about it, the more Qian Chao felt that it was possible. After all, if the body strength was not comparable to the Immortal King, it was impossible to blow Gu Aodong's head dry. Fortunately, Gu Aodong is a puppet. As long as I don't blow him apart with one punch, his combat effectiveness will not be affected too much. Qian Chao patted his chest with his left hand, then immediately squatted down to pick up his right hand and pressed it on his wrist. Chi chi chi. Qian Chao was a fifth-stage half-step immortal king. As soon as his right hand touched his wrist, it healed at a very fast speed. Soon his right hand was completely undamaged. Sha sha sha. After fixing his right hand, Qian Chao looked at Ningyu coldly and said sternly, I advise you not to do any more useless work. Guodong is an immortal king puppet, unless you can blow him apart with one punch. Otherwise, he can unceasingly. Why do I have to blow him apart with one punch? Ningyu rolled his eyes at Qian Chao and said, I can get through his central system and directly seize control of him, okay? Seize control? Qian Chao was stunned at first. Then his expression changed greatly. Ka. Just as Qian Chao was in a daze, Guodong's shriveled head was recovering rapidly. In just half a second, Guodong's head was restored to its original state. You! Qian Chao pointed at Ningyu with his mouth slightly open and a look of disbelief on his face. Next to Guodong's central system, there was a peerless formation. Just now, Ningyu was fighting with Guodong. How could he have time to crack the formation? Ningyu, I broke the formation of the central system of the Immortal King puppet for you, so I want 30% of the things in the Qian family's treasure pavilion. Lin Lang's words solved the confusion in Qian Chao's heart. He held his head high and said, In addition, every month you have to give me the Immortal King puppet for 1 day to let me control it. Before, Lin Lang said he wanted 40% of the things in the treasure pavilion, which was obviously a joke. After all, he knew his own capabilities. He just cracked a formation, which was not enough to get 40% of the things. But now, Chapter 2408. Chapter 2408. Knew YORK things might change if he delayed. No problem, you can take 30% of the things in the Qian family's treasury. Ningyu nodded and replied. The formation at the central system of Guodong was extremely difficult to crack. If he relied on himself, it would probably take a long time. Fortunately, Lin Lang quietly handed him a crystal ball. Using that crystal ball, the formation was cracked within 3 minutes. After cracking the formation, Ningyu only used a few seconds to control Guodong. Thank you. Lin Lang chuckled, then leaped up and began to search the treasures in the treasury. Get back here. However, just as Lin Lang moved a few steps, Ningyu berated. Take care of Madman first. Stabilize his injuries. Wait for me to defeat Qian Chao. Then I will go treat Madman. Swish. His voice faded. Ningyu stepped on the ground and immediately rushed towards Qian Chao. In order to hold Qian Chao for 3 minutes, Madman did not hesitate to use his trump card, and even his internal organs were severely injured. Ningyu saw it clearly. If Madman was not treated as soon as possible, then Madman would probably spend the rest of his life in bed. All right. Lin Lang was not a person without a sense of propriety. He turned his head, came to Madman, and began to treat Madman. Although Lin Lang's medical skills were not very good, but stabilizing Madman's injuries was not a problem. Damn it! Seeing Ningyu rushing towards him, Qian Chao could not help but curse. His trump card, Guodong, who was comparable to an immortal king, had been defeated by Ningyu and taken control. At this time, if he were to fight with Ningyu head-on, it was very likely that he would die on the spot. Therefore, he made a prompt decision and decided to retreat first. In any case, Qianlu had already informed the Northern Venerable. As long as the Northern Venerable rushed to the Qian family, then Ningyu's fate would be very miserable. Run! Qian Chao was not an indecisive person. With a wave of his hands, he immediately tore the void and entered. Want to leave? However, how could Ningyu allow Qian Chao to leave? After Qian Kun's death, Qian Chao was probably the most powerful person in the Qian family. He was the actual controller of the Qian family. Controlling Qian Chao meant controlling the Qian family. Boom! Ningyu punched out, bringing along a violent gale of energy. Ka. All of a sudden, the void cracked and countless spatial cracks appeared. Bang! Not long after, a figure jumped out of the void and fell heavily to the ground. Qian Chao. That's right, this figure was none other than the current ruler of the Qian family, Qian Chao. If Qian Chao wasn't in a hurry to leave, it would be almost impossible for Ningyu to defeat him in a short time, given his strength. However, his decision to leave gave Ningyu a chance to attack. Ningyu did not disappoint. With just one punch, Qian Chao was blasted out of the void. Puchi! He spat out a mouthful of blood. Qian Chao looked at Ningyu coldly and said fiercely, "This is the Qian family. I'm from the Qian family." Puff! Before Qian Chao could finish his words, Ningyu punched him in the chest. Crack! The sound of his ribs breaking caused Qian Chao to spit out another mouthful of blood. Open your mind! Ningyu chased after him and stepped on Qian Chao's head with his right foot. He said in a deep voice, "You only have one chance. Open your mind and let me control it or die." As the word die was heard, Ningyu's aura erupted. Hiss! Feeling the terrifying aura emanating from Ningyu, Qian Chao couldn't help but gasp. At this time, he had already given up. Originally, he thought that if he used all his trump cards, he could fight against Ningyu head-on. At the very least, he could hold on for a few hours. But now he knew that he was wrong, and he was extremely wrong. Even if he used all his trump cards, he would still be quickly defeated by Ningyu. At most an hour, no, at most half an hour, Ningyu would be able to defeat him. "If I open my mind, will you spare my life?" Qian Chao asked, shivering. "Stupid." Ningyu rolled his eyes and said coldly, "I really don't know how you cultivated to the 5th stage half-step Immortal King." "All right, I will open my mind." Qian Chao was not a hothead. Ningyu was already angry. If he delayed any longer, Ningyu would definitely kill him. Taking a deep breath, Qian Chao closed his eyes and completely opened his mind. Swoosh! Ningyu separated a wisp of soul force from his body and entered Qian Chao's sea of consciousness. Boom! The sudden addition of soul force in his sea of consciousness made Qian Chao's head explode. Qian Chao was very clear. From now on, his life was completely in the hands of Ningyu. He could only live if Ningyu let him live. If Ningyu wanted him to die, he would definitely die. Even if Northern Venerable came to the Qian clan, his ending would not change much. Unless Northern Venerable could defeat Ningyu and control Ningyu. Otherwise, he would still be controlled by Ningyu. Swish! After controlling Qian Chao, Ningyu did not waste any time and squatted down beside the madman. Pa! He stretched out his right hand and placed it on Qian Chao's back. Chi. Endless energy flowed out from his body and entered the madman's body, starting to treat him. A part of the energy came from Ningyu, and the other part was from Ning Lu. Ning Lu was the world tree. The energy in his body was mixed with some blood and could perfectly treat the madman. Ka. As the energy entered his body, the madman's internal organs began to heal at a terrifying speed. Drip, drip. Time passed minute by minute. In the blink of an eye, 10 minutes passed. Phew! As the madman exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, his mental state had recovered to its peak. Seeing the madman's changes, Lin Lang's mouth opened slightly and his face was full of disbelief. He was in charge of treating the madman just now and knew how serious the madman's injuries were. He thought that only an intermediate Immortal King expert could treat the madman, and it was very likely that there would be repercussions. Who would have thought? Ningyu used only 10 minutes to completely treat the madman's injuries. He would not believe the situation before, even if he was beaten to death. Thank you. Feeling the changes in his body, the madman cupped his fists at Ningyu and said, You gave me this life. In the future, if you need anything, you can tell me. I will help you do 5 things unconditionally. Only 5? Ningyu rolled his eyes and said, I thought you would say that from today onwards. Your life belongs to me. If you have any requests, I can do it. The madman said solemnly. Don't. Ningyu quickly shook his head and said, I'm joking with you. Let's quickly plunder the Qian family's treasure vault. If we delay, there will be changes. Changes? What changes can happen? Lin Lang was puzzled. Boom! At this moment, the space in front suddenly exploded and 2 figures appeared in everyone's line of sight. Chapter 2409. Chapter 2409. Chapter 2. For 09 Immortal King Divine Armor, Northern Venerable. Qian Chao was the most excited when the Northern Venerable appeared. His face was filled with ecstasy. However, Qian Chao was just about to ask Qian Chao for help when he thought of his current situation. He was already controlled by Ningyu. A single thought from Ningyu, and he would die on the spot. At the thought of this, Qian Chao broke out in cold sweat. He stole a glance at Ningyu and realized that Ningyu didn't have much of a shadow, so he returned to normal. Fortunately, he reacted in time. Otherwise, Ningyu might have killed him on the spot. Release Qian Chao. The Northern Venerable's first sentence was a cold reprimand. You have already killed Qian Kun and committed a heinous crime. Are you still going to be ruthless? Ruthless. Ningyu looked at the Northern Venerable with interest. What do you think I should do? What else can you do? Release Qian Chao. Kneel down and kowtow to him to admit your mistake. Then, take out all the good stuff on you. The Venerable of the North continued. Most importantly, you have to leave the Qian family's treasure trove immediately. Everything in the Qian family's treasure trove belongs to me. Where you are standing now is my territory. I see. Ningyu was still curious why the Northern Venerable would come to help Qian Chao. It turned out that Qian Chao had paid the price of the Qian clan's treasure trove. This price could not be said to be small. Lin Lang, frenzied, you guys are in charge of searching the treasure trove. I will hold the Northern Venerable back. Ningyu turned to look at Lin Lang and frenzied. You guys have to look carefully and take everything away. Don't leave any treasures for them. Don't worry. I'm good at this. Lin Lang smiled and flew towards the depths of the treasure trove. Be careful. Frenzied reminded him before leaving with Lin Lang. Good, very good. Very good. The Venerable of the North looked on coldly. When Lin Lang and Madman entered the depths of the treasury, Lin Lang's face was terrifyingly cold. What's good about it? If you want to fight, then fight. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Ningyu leaped up and landed on Gu Adong's shoulder as he said, I also want to see exactly how strong an immortal king is. Would he be as weak as Qian Kun? Even 2 Qian Kun aren't my match. A cold light shot out of the Venerable one of the North's eyes as he attacked Ningyu. Chi, chi, chi. Wherever the cold light passed, the air gave way and a vacuum appeared. In the blink of an eye, the cold light arrived in front of Ningyu, ruthlessly blasting towards Ningyu's head. The power of this cold light had reached its pinnacle. Even if a peerless expert like Qian Chao utilized his trump card, it would be impossible for him to resist an ordinary 5th stage half-step immortal king. Bang! In the blink of an eye, the cold light struck Gu Adong's chest. The result was not satisfactory. The strength of Gu Adong's body had reached the immortal king level. The cold light cast by the Venerable One of the North did not even leave a mark on Gu Adong's body. Immortal king puppet! The Venerable One of the North's face became extremely solemn. If there was only Ningyu, he could naturally kill him easily. However, Now that there was an immortal king puppet, it would be very difficult for him to kill Ningyu, and there was not much time left for him. The Venerable One of the West, Tai Muqiang, would probably arrive in half an hour. If he could not kill Ningyu within half an hour, he would probably be besieged by Tai Muqiang and the Venerable One of the West. Taking a deep breath, the Venerable One of the North looked coldly at Ningyu and said in a deep voice, "I admit that I underestimated you. However, if you only have this little strength, then I can only apologize to you." "Sorry," Ningyu also said, "if you only have this little strength, then you will probably end up the same as Qian Chao." Swish! The Venerable One of the North turned his head and looked at Qian Chao. Then his face became extremely gloomy. As an immortal king, he could naturally see that Qian Chao had been controlled by Ningyu. He was a dignified immortal king. How could he be controlled by Ningyu? Courting death. With a gloomy face, the Venerable One of the North rose from the ground and charged at Ningyu again. "Guodong, I will transfer energy to you. You go and stop the Venerable One of the North." The energy in Ningyu's body was injected into Guodong's body. Then, Ningyu rose from the ground and went straight into the depths of the treasure pavilion. The reason why Ningyu asked Guodong to stop the Venerable One of the North was that he found something in the depths of the treasure pavilion. That thing was extremely precious. It could be said that if Ningyu could get that thing, then with his strength, defeating the Venerable One of the North would be a piece of cake. Not good. Seeing Ningyu dashing into the depths of the treasure pavilion, the Venerable One of the North turned pale with fright. Ningyu was in such a hurry to go to the depths of the treasure pavilion. There must be only one purpose, and that was to snatch the armor in the depths. Immortal King Divine Armor. It was not the same as the ordinary Immortal King armor. The armor in the depths of the Qian family's treasure pavilion was called Immortal King Divine Armor. Its level had reached the terrifying late-stage Immortal King. What was the concept of a late-stage Immortal King armor? Even an ordinary 5th-stage half-step Immortal King could compete with a real Immortal King with it. Once Ningyu put it on, the consequences would be unimaginable. So, even if the Venerable One of the North had to risk his life, he would never let Ningyu get that armor. Get out of my way. The Venerable One of the North roared and did not hesitate to burn his blood essence to increase his strength. He punched at Guodong's chest. Crack! This time, as the Venerable One of the North attacked with all his might, a crack appeared on Guodong's chest. Although the crack was not very obvious, it still had a great impact on Guodong. Not surprisingly, Guodong's combat effectiveness had dropped by at least half. Rumble. With a drop in combat effectiveness, he was naturally no match for the Venerable One of the North. It only took a dozen seconds for Guodong to be defeated, and there were more than a dozen cracks all over his body. Swoosh! After defeating Guodong, the Venerable One of the North did not seize control, but rushed to the depths of the treasure pavilion. However, at this moment, a remnant shadow suddenly swept out from the depths of the treasure pavilion. This remnant shadow was wearing a golden armor, and wherever it passed, there was a violent energy fluctuation. Gulp! Seeing the newcomer, before the Venerable One of the North had any reaction, Qian Chao swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Qian Chao naturally knew what the golden armor was. It was the most valuable magic treasure in the Qian family's treasure pavilion. Late-stage Immortal King Divine Armor. This armor was the family treasure of the Qian family in the Oriental City. Ha ha ha! Venerable One of the North, take this! Wearing the Immortal King Divine Armor, Ningyu laughed and punched at the head of the Venerable One of the North. Damn it! Seeing Ningyu rushing toward him, the Venerable One of the North cursed and immediately retreated. The Venerable One of the North did not want to take Ningyu's punch head-on. His idea was very simple. He would first retreat to Guodong's side and use Guodong to fight against Ningyu. As for him, Chapter 2410. Chapter 2410. Chapter 2410. Wrong guess, however. Dreams were plentiful, but reality was harsh. Although Guodong was severely injured and there were several cracks on his body, he was still under Ning Yu's control. Before the Northern Venerable could reach Guodong, Ning Yu controlled Guodong to attack the Northern Venerable. Damn it! Seeing Guodong attacking him, the Northern Venerable couldn't help but curse. He was in a very dangerous situation at the moment. There was Guodong before and Ning Yu behind. If he couldn't get rid of this danger as soon as possible, then what awaited him would be a fierce battle. Taking a deep breath, the Northern Venerable decided to defeat Guodong first. After all, Ning Yu was wearing a late-stage Immortal King armor, and his combat power was extremely terrifying. In a one-on-one fight, it would be difficult for him to get rid of Ning Yu in a short period of time. Die. The Northern Venerable was not an indecisive person. He clenched his right fist and punched towards Guodong's chest with a violent wind. Crack! Guodong, who already had some cracks, was hit by the Northern Venerable and his body shattered on the spot. Explode! In the distance, when Ning Yu saw Guodong's body explode, he immediately triggered the energy in his core. Boom! Along with a rumbling sound, Lin Fan's eyes lit up. Guodong's head immediately exploded. Whoosh! Countless fragments of the explosion flew towards the Venerable of the North in an overwhelming manner. Each fragment was as hard as an ordinary early-stage Immortal King martial artist. Oh no! Looking at the fragments that filled the sky, the Northern Venerable immediately released the energy in his body and formed an energy shield around him. Crack, crack, crack. However, the energy shield that the Northern Venerable cast was obviously unable to withstand the attack of the fragments. Soon, the energy shield was completely shattered. Bang! At this moment, Ning Yu chased after the Northern Venerable and punched the Northern Venerable's chest. Puchi! The huge force from his chest caused the Northern Venerable to spit blood and his body to fly out. You! After steadying himself, the Venerable of the North lifted his right hand and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He then glared coldly at Ning Yu and growled, "I'm the governor of North City, the Venerable of the North. I'll show you what cruelty is for treating me like this today." Ning Yu rolled his eyes. The Venerable of the North was really funny. The two of them had already fought to this extent. Was he really going to let the Venerable one of the North go? A late Immortal King battle armor is indeed good. Ning Yu secretly checked the armor he was wearing and was very satisfied. Once the grade of the battle armor reached the late Immortal King stage, it could store some energy for active use in battle. Unfortunately, the Immortal King Divine armor that Ning Yu had obtained from the Qian clan's treasure pavilion contained a lot of energy. Ning Yu had used some of his energy when he was fighting with the Venerable of the North. Otherwise, while Ning Yu could have defeated the Northern Venerable one, it would not have been as easy as it was now. Whoosh! Whoosh! Just as Ning Yu defeated the Venerable of the North, the madman and Lin Lang sped over from afar. The madman held an interspatial ring in his hand, while Lin Lang held 2 interspatial rings in his hand. Here, Lin Lang flicked his wrist and threw one of the interspatial rings to Ning Yu. Pa! Ning Yu caught the interspatial ring firmly with a slightly surprised expression. His perception of Lin Lang had always been inward and not outward. Now that Lin Lang had thrown him an interspatial ring, it had obviously exceeded his expectations. Actually, after he obtained the Immortal King Divine armor, he no longer cared about the items in the Qian clan's treasure pavilion. Don't say that I'm taking advantage of you. I took 30% of the treasures in the Qian clan's treasure pavilion. The madman took 30%, and your interspatial ring has a total of 40%. Lin Lang's face was full of vigilance, afraid that Ning Yu would fight with him. After all, there was an intermediate Immortal King Divine armor in his interspatial ring. That armor was monopolized by him. As for the armor that Ning Yu was wearing, He didn't know its true grade. If he knew, he would probably curse angrily. Got it. Ning Yu casually threw the interspatial ring into the red devil sword, then moved his feet and walked towards the Venerable of the North. Ning Yu's speed wasn't too fast, but every step he took was like a huge rock that weighed thousands of kilograms on the Venerable of the North's heart, making him feel very depressed. What are you trying to do? The Venerable of the North looked at Ning Yu coldly and said fiercely, I'm different from Qian Kun and the Venerable of the East. If you want to kill me, I can only apologize to you. Even if I die, I will drag someone down with me and perish together with you. Sha! Ning Yu stopped in his tracks, looked at the Venerable of the North with interest, and said, Please start your performance and perish together with me. You, the Venerable of the North, didn't expect Ning Yu to act like this. For a moment he was speechless. The reason why he said those harsh words wasn't because he really wanted to perish together with Ning Yu, but because he wanted to threaten Ning Yu to spare his life. Now that Ning Yu had done the opposite, he was a little flustered. What about you? Ning Yu shrugged and said, There's only one chance. If you miss this opportunity, you won't get it again. Humph. The Venerable of the North snorted coldly and didn't say anything else. He didn't believe that Ning Yu would kill him because he was an immortal king powerhouse after all. Ning Yu had even controlled Qian Chao, who was half a step to the immortal king realm, let alone him. If he guessed correctly, Ning Yu would definitely let him relax. However, this time the Venerable of the North was obviously thinking too much. Ning Yu wasn't arrogant enough to control an immortal king powerhouse. With his cultivation of half a step to the immortal king realm, it was rather difficult to control the Venerable of the North, who was infinitely close to the peak of the early immortal king realm. Therefore, his idea was rather simple. He would kill the Venerable of the North and use the energy in his body to break through to the 5th stage to the immortal king realm. Then, he would go to the North City and plunder everything in the city, Lord's mansion. Lin Lang, I have a good thing for you to do. Ning Yu rolled his eyes and transmitted his voice to Lin Lang. Go kill the Venerable of the North. I'll give you half of his things. I'll give you half. Lin Lang swore on the spot. Give me half? Even if you give me 90%, I wouldn't dare to do it, let alone half. I'm not even a half step to the immortal king realm. Even if the Venerable of the North stood still and let me slash him, I wouldn't be able to hurt him. After all, the Venerable of the North's body was already at the immortal king realm. I'll give it all to you. Ning Yu clenched his teeth and seemed to have made a difficult decision. He said, Other than the energy, everything else in the Venerable of the North's body is yours. Are you serious? There would always be courageous people with great rewards. Humans died for wealth, and birds died for food, in order to get the treasures in the Venerable of the North's body. Lin Lang was going all out. Of course, Ning Yu nodded. Watch the Venerable of the North for me, and prevent him from attacking me. Chapter 2411. Chapter 2411. Chapter 2411 Arrive. What are you doing? Seeing Lin Lang walking towards him, the Northern Venerable's expression changed, and he bellowed, I am the city, Lord of North City. Am I here to court death? To be honest, if someone told the Northern Venerable that Lin Lang was here to kill him, he would probably laugh his head off, because Lin Lang's cultivation was not even at the level of a half-step immortal king. He could easily kill such a weak chicken, even if he was severely injured. Ning Yu asked me to come and hit you. Lin Lang was smart. He would not admit that he was here to kill the Northern Venerable. Lin Lang rolled his eyes and said, You also know that Ning Yu has some special hobbies. If I can't satisfy him, he'll probably skin me alive. So, you just have to suffer a little and let me hit you. Special hobbies? The Northern Venerable was confused. He did not know what special hobbies Ning Yu had. Could it be that all geniuses had hobbies? Just as he was thinking, Lin Lang had already come to his side. "Get lost!" The Northern Venerable shouted at Lin Lang. "I will give you one last chance. Get lost or die." Boom! While they were talking, the Northern Venerable suddenly exerted his aura and pressed towards Lin Lang. However, Lin Lang did not seem to be affected by the aura of the Northern Venerable. He crossed his arms in front of his chest and looked at the Northern Venerable with interest, saying, "Don't be so stingy. I will just hit your head. It's not like you will die. Get lost." The Northern Venerable said fiercely, "There is a limit to my patience. I hope you will not challenge my limit." "How boring." Lin Lang rolled his eyes and said, actually, although Lin Lang looked calm on the surface, he was actually not. Deep down, he was extremely nervous. If Ningyu had not blocked the aura of the Northern Venerable for him, he would have peed his pants. That's right, he would pee his pants. After all, Lin Lang was not even a half-step Immortal King. It was hard for him to stay calm in the face of a real Immortal King. Die! The Venerable One of the North was successfully enraged by Lin Lang. He roared and charged at Lin Lang. "Oh my God! Ning!" Lin Lang's face changed when he saw the Northern Venerable One charging toward him. He cursed and wanted to turn around to ask Ningyu for help. However, just as Lin Lang turned around, he saw a shadow flash past him. Ningyu. This shadow was none other than Ningyu. Ningyu was so quick that he arrived before the Northern Supremacy in the blink of an eye. He clenched his right fist and punched the Northern Venerable One's head when he was caught off guard. Rumble! All of a sudden, the Venerable of the North's head exploded, blood and flesh splattering everywhere. At this moment, the Northern Reverend, who was at the early stage of the Celestial King realm, was killed by Ningyu on the spot. Hiss! In the distance, the Madman and Qian Chao gasped when they saw the Venerable of the North's death. You should know, the Venerable of the North was different from Qian Kun and the Venerable of the East. When Ningyu killed Qian Kun and the Venerable of the East, they suppressed their cultivation to the 4th stage of the Celestial King realm. But now, the Venerable of the North did not suppress his cultivation. The fact that Ningyu could kill him was enough to show that his strength had reached an extremely terrifying level. You did well. After killing the Venerable of the North, Ningyu patted Lin Lang's shoulder and said, "If you hadn't lured the Venerable of the North, I wouldn't have been able to kill him." Lin Lang's face darkened. In the end, he was just a bait. You said that the thing on the Venerable of the North is mine. Lin Lang recovered very quickly. He did not care if he was a bait or not. As long as he could obtain the thing on the Venerable of the North, all his risks would be worth it. Swoosh! His figure flashed. Lin Lang quickly came to the side of the Venerable of the North. He reached out his right hand and began to search his body. After searching for a few minutes, Lin Lang then retracted his hand. There was a stone of 2 realms lying alone in his palm. Damn it! Lin Lang was so angry that his nose was crooked. He initially thought that he could get something from the Venerable of the North. Who would have thought that the Venerable of the North was so poor? You, a dignified Immortal King powerhouse, actually only had a 2-realm stone. Lin Lang was extremely angry. He was really unlucky for 8 lifetimes. Get ready. Let's go to the city, Lord's mansion. Ning, you did not care how angry Lin Lang was. He stomped on the ground and headed outside. The Qian clan's forbidden area was the treasure pavilion. Now that everything in the treasure pavilion had been plundered, there was no need to stay. His next destination was the city, Lord's mansion of Oriental City. He had killed the Venerable of the East in Broken Cliff City. Oriental City would definitely have to pay a price. Otherwise, wouldn't he be challenged by the Venerable of the East for no reason? Swoosh! However, when Ningyu and Lin Lang arrived at the main entrance of the Qian clan, they saw several figures appearing. Xia Wenqing. Ning, you did not know them, but Qian Chao knew them very well. Not long ago, Qian Chao had begged Xia Wenqing for help in the city lord's mansion, but Xia Wenqing had rejected him flatly. Now that he saw Xia Wenqing again, Qian Chao felt like he was seeing his enemy. Qian Chao was angry when he saw Xia Wenqing. Xia Wenqing was a little confused when he saw Qian Chao, because he found that Qian Chao was with Ningyu and frenzied. Didn't Ningyu kill Qian Kun? Why was Qian Chao still with him? Xia Wenqing was very puzzled. Who is he? Ningyu pointed at Xia Wenqing and turned his head to ask. Someone from the city, lord's mansion. After the Venerable of the East was killed by you, he became the actual controller of the city, lord's mansion. Qian Chao said fiercely, the city lord's mansion has more treasures than the Qian clan. The last time I went to the city lord's mansion, I sensed a flying sword of the late immortal king level. Late immortal king? Ningyu frowned slightly. Since when was it so easy to encounter a magic treasure of the late immortal king level? That's right, it's the late immortal king level. In order to drag Xia Wenqing down with him, Qian Chao said in a deep voice, there are many good things in the city, lord's mansion. I can bring you there to look for them. If you can't find them, I will twist my head off and let you use it as a chamber pot. It could be seen. Qian Chao had completely thrown caution to the wind. He no longer cared about anything else. As long as he could drag Xia Wenqing down with him, he felt that everything was worth it. You are Ningyu? Xia Wenqing was not a fool. From the conversation between Qian Chao and Ningyu, he could tell that Qian Chao was already under Ningyu's control. However, his strength was stronger than Qian Chao's. Ningyu could defeat Qian Chao, but he might not be able to defeat him. Moreover, he boasted that if he were to fight against Venerable Dongfang and Qian Kun, who were at the 4th stage of the half-step Immortal King realm, he would be able to defeat them just like Ningyu. Therefore, he was full of confidence against Ningyu this time. Chapter 24:12. Chapter 24:12. Chapter 24:12. Black Light. Hearing Xia Wenqing's provocative words, before Ningyu could react, Lin Lang couldn't help but laugh. He had seen arrogant people, but he had never seen someone as arrogant as Xia Wenqing. Ningyu could even kill the Northern Reverend, who was an immortal king, let alone Xia Wenqing, who was only a level 5 half-step immortal king. Coincidentally, Ningyu was going to plunder the city lord's mansion. Now that Xia Wenqing had come with the experts of the city lord's mansion, it saved him a lot of trouble. What are you laughing at? If you laugh again, I'll twist your head off. Xia Wenqing looked at Lin Lang coldly and said fiercely, you're not even a level 1 half-step immortal king, and you dare to laugh at me? I think you're tired of living and want to meet the king of hell in advance. You. Lin Lang was furious. He turned to Ningyu and said, leave him to me later. Don't worry. How can I not agree to your request? You go and deal with Xia Wenqing. Leave the others to Qian Chao and Frenzied. Ningyu patted Lin Lang's shoulder and said, good. You're good. I knew it. Lin Lang nodded in satisfaction. However, he reacted quickly. Staring at Ningyu suspiciously, Lin Lang asked, what do you mean? Are you going to leave Xia Wenqing to me alone? He's a level 5 half-step immortal king. How can I be his opponent? You know you're not his opponent, yet you're still jumping here? Ningyu rolled his eyes and ignored Lin Lang. He turned to Qian Chao and asked, can you kill Xia Wenqing? Leave it to me. Qian Chao quickly patted his chest and promised, this is Qian family. Since Xia Wenqing dares to come, I'll make sure he doesn't return. Swoosh! Qian Chao was sensible. Ningyu had given him this opportunity. He must seize it to prove that Ningyu was useful to him and not a waste of soul force. I'll get rid of you first, then I'll kill Ningyu. Looking at Qian Chao, who was rushing toward him, Xia Wenqing's face turned cold. He gathered the energy in his body on his fist and punched out. Ka ka ka. Xia Wenqing's punch was extremely terrifying. Cracks even appeared in the void. So strong? Seeing Xia Wenqing's terrifying punch, Lin Lang's mouth was slightly agape, a little dumbfounded. At this moment, he felt very fortunate. Fortunately, it was Qian Chao who was fighting against Xia Wenqing, not him. Otherwise, he would probably die on the spot. Madman, if you were to fight Xia Wenqing, would you be able to kill him? Ning Yu crossed his arms in front of his chest and said to the madman beside him, 30%. Madman's expression was extremely solemn as he stared at the two parties fighting. 30%? Ning Yu had already made up his mind. 30% meant that Madman wasn't confident that he could kill Xia Wenqing. In a battle between experts, if one didn't have confidence, then the chances of winning would drop a little. In other words, if Madman were to fight against Xia Wenqing, his chances of winning would only be 20% or even 10%, as expected of a force that had produced an immortal king. Ning Yu didn't say anything else. He asked this question not because he looked down on Madman, but because he wanted to let Madman know that there was always someone better than him. Actually, Ning Yu thought very highly of Madman. He was very talented and very resilient. With some nurturing, he would definitely be a peak combat force. During this trip to the Immortal Court, Ning Yu knew that he would definitely be monitored by Tai Muqiang, the Western Venerable, and even Xiao Duanya. Under such circumstances, it was imperative to nurture his own force. Not killing Qian Chao and not taking the initiative to fight against Xia Wenqing were all preparations made by Ning Yu. Otherwise, if Xia Wenqing jumped like that just now, Ning Yu would have already killed him. Why would he wait until now? Rumble. While Ning Yu was still thinking about what Tai Muqiang and the Western Venerable would say, the battle over there was coming to an end. That's right, the battle was coming to an end. On the surface, it seemed that Xia Wenqing was very powerful and had the help of many experts from the city lord's mansion. However, in the end, Xia Wenqing was defeated by Qian Chao. Bang! After defeating Xia Wenqing, Qian Chao dragged the latter's shoulder and threw him in front of Ning Yu, saying, "Fortunately, I didn't disappoint you. You can leave first." Ning Yu waved his hand and said, "Plunder everything from the people of the city, lord's mansion, and then guard outside. I have something to ask Xia Wenqing." Yes, Qian Chao knew that he must ask what he should ask, and he must not ask what he shouldn't ask. He hurriedly got up and walked outside. "What are you guys still standing there for?" After Qian Chao left, Ning Yu looked at Lin Lang and Madman and said, "Are you going to stay for the new year?" "Stingy," Lin Lang complained, then followed Qian Chao and left. From Lin Lang's point of view, for Ning Yu to keep Xia Wenqing, it must be because Xia Wenqing had something good on him. Otherwise, Ning Yu would definitely control Xia Wenqing directly and not waste time like now. "I have a few questions to ask you." Ning Yu extended a finger and went straight to the point. "What is the relationship between the Eastern Venerable and Xiao Duanya?" This question puzzled Ning Yu for a long time. It was said that they were superior and subordinate, but it didn't seem like it. It was even more unlikely to say that they were friends. Xiao Duanya came from a super celestial kingdom in the Celestial Court, and the Eastern Venerable and the other 3 city lords also came from super celestial kingdoms. Xia Wenqing explained, "It's just that the super celestial kingdom that Xiao Duanya came from is extremely powerful. In recent years, it has firmly suppressed the other 4 super celestial kingdoms, so he can control Broken Cliff City, while the other venerables control the smaller city lords." "I see." Ning Yu nodded. Ning Yu didn't believe that Xia Wenqing would lie to him. After all, there was no need for Xia Wenqing to lie to him about this matter. The loss outweighed the gain. Whoosh! At this moment, outside the Qian family's main gate, the void split open and 2 martial artists appeared. These two martial artists were none other than the Western Venerable and Tai Muqiang. They knew that Ningyu had come to the Qian family, and that the Qian family had informed the Northern Venerable, so they rushed over immediately to prevent any accidents. Who would have thought? Just as they arrived outside the Qian family, they saw Qian Chao standing there like a door god. What's going on? The Western Venerable was a little confused. He looked at Qian Chao, then looked at Tai Muqiang and said doubtfully, "Ning, you couldn't have been killed by Qian Chao, right?" "We'll know if we ask." Tai Muqiang looked at Qian Chao and asked in a deep voice, "Where's Ningyu?" "Don't worry, Ningyu is fine now." Lin Lang, who was at the side, curled his lips and said, "Ningyu, that kid's luck is really good to actually receive the favor of 3 great celestial kings." "You are." Tai Muqiang looked at Lin Lang and said with a frown, Lin Lang's face was full of black lines. "Is my presence that weak? You're in Celestial King, after all, and have a photographic memory. I don't believe you don't know that I came to the Qian family with Ningyu." Chapter 24:13. Heavenly Demon Genius, I remember now. Tai Muqiang patted his head and asked, "You said that Ningyu is fine now. Why didn't I see him?" "You're asking me. Who am I supposed to ask?" Lin Lang thought this in his heart, but he didn't dare to show it. Creak! Just as Lin Lang was about to slander Ningyu, the door of the Qian residence suddenly opened from the inside, and Ningyu and Xia Wenqing walked out side by side. As soon as they came out, Ningyu said to Tai Muqiang, "Sorry, I had something to do just now, so I came out a bit late." "It's fine." Tai Muqiang waved his hand, indicating that Ningyu didn't need to mind. He might not have noticed it before, but now he noticed that Qian Chao's expression became extremely nervous after Ningyu came out. Obviously, Qian Chao was already under Ningyu's control. "I heard that Northern Venerable is here. Where is he now?" At this moment, Western Venerable asked. Western Venerable had already received the news. Northern Venerable of North City was hired by the Qian clan with a large sum of money to fight against Ningyu. Now that he didn't see him, there were only 2 possibilities. First, Northern Venerable didn't come. Second, Northern Venerable was convinced by Ningyu. Either way, Western Venerable was very shocked. After all, Northern Venerable was a genuine immortal king, different from Qian Kun and Eastern Venerable, whom Ningyu had killed previously. No matter how strong Ningyu was, he was definitely not a match for Northern Venerable. Dead. Ningyu didn't intend to hide it, and he said directly, "Northern Venerable attacked me and I killed him." Even his corpse was refined. "I plan to go to North City next. I wonder if the 2 of you want to go with me." "What?" Western Venerable and Tai Muqiang exclaimed at the same time when they heard Ningyu's casual words. Northern Venerable was dead? They thought they understood Ningyu's strength very well. He could instantly kill a 5th phase half-step immortal king. However, against a true celestial king, he could only die with a grievance. Now that Ningyu said that he had killed the Venerable of the North, they would definitely be shocked and confused. Whoosh! His gaze shifted. The Venerable of the West and Tai Muqiang looked at the madman. Madman had always been with Ningyu, so he should be very clear about what happened to the Qian family. The madman did not answer Tai Muqiang and the Western supremacy immediately. Instead, he looked at Ningyu with a questioning look. After getting Ningyu's confirmation, the madman nodded. Ningyu did indeed kill the Northern Venerable. At that time, the Northern Venerable wanted to escape, but Ningyu detonated the Immortal King puppets and killed him. A madman was not a hothead. Some things could be said, and some things could not be said. He hid the important parts so that the Western Venerable One and Tai Muqiang would think that Ningyu was able to kill the Northern Venerable One because of the Immortal King puppet. Who? As expected, after hearing the madman's explanation, Tai Muqiang and the Western supremacy looked relieved. To them, If Ningyu had really killed the Northern Venerable in a one-on-one fight, it meant that Ningyu had the ability to kill them. Even if it was not enough, he could still fight against them, and this was something that the two of them were very worried about. There are only 2 days left before we go to the Immortal Court. I hope you can prepare yourself. The Western Supremacy and Tai Muqiang looked at each other and left a sentence. Then they moved and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Seeing Tai Muqiang and the Western Supremacy leave, Ningyu's expression was calm, without any joy or anger. Ningyu was very clear. After the Northern Venerable, Qiankun, and the Eastern Venerable were dead, the next enemies he would have to face would probably be the Western Supremacy and Tai Muqiang. As for Xiao Duanya, he could not tell where he stood at the moment. Let's go to the city lord's mansion. Ningyu did not waste any time. He glanced at Xia Wenqing and Qian Chao, then stepped on the ground and headed straight to the city lord's mansion. Eastern City Lord's Mansion, Northern City Lord's Mansion. These were Ningyu's next destinations. Before going to the Immortal Court, what Ningyu needed to do was to raise his cultivation base to the 5th stage half-step Immortal King. If Frenzied was willing to stand on the same side as him, he did not mind helping Frenzied to make a qualitative leap in Frenzied strength. Of course, if Frenzied was unwilling, he would not force him. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Ningyu was swift and decisive in his work. In just a few minutes, they arrived at the city lord's mansion of Eastern City. Due to the death of the city lord, Eastern Supremacy, and the control of Xia Wenqing, the huge city lord's mansion was now without a leader. Ningyu did not care about the chaos in the city lord's mansion. He let Xia Wenqing lead the way and went straight to the treasure pavilion of the city lord's mansion. Creak! As the door of the treasure pavilion of the city lord's mansion was pushed open, a terrifying aura suddenly spread out from inside. Swoosh! 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 Immediately after, 3 cold lights sped over, blasting towards Ningyu, Lin Lang, and Frenzied. Slash! This time, Ningyu chose to take the initiative to attack. He drew out the red demon sword and slashed out 3 times. Ka ka ka! The 3 cold lights were shattered on the spot under the attack of the red demon sword. Follow me in. Ningyu moved and was the first to enter the treasure pavilion. Behind him, Lin Lang, Frenzied, Qian Chao, and Xia Wenqing did not dare to delay and hurriedly followed. After searching for half an hour in the treasure pavilion of the city lord's mansion, Ningyu and the others came out. After coming out, Ningyu's expression did not change much, but Lin Lang and Frenzied looked ecstatic. Immortal King battle armor. The things in the treasure pavilion of the city lord's mansion were much fewer than the Qian clan's treasure pavilion. There were 2 Immortal King battle armors, both of which were intermediate Immortal King. As Ningyu wanted to nurture Frenzied and Lin Lang, plus he already had 2 intermediate Immortal King battle armors and 1 advanced Immortal King battle armor, he did not compete with Lin Lang and the others. In addition to the Immortal King battle armor, Ningyu also found tens of thousands of 2 realm stones. After casually putting the 2 realm stones into the red demon sword, Ningyu got up and wanted to go to the North City lord's mansion to search again. Whoosh! However, as soon as Ningyu left the city lord's mansion, he saw a familiar figure. Yang Yaming. That's right. The person was none other than the young martial artist who had a bet with Mo Chong at the Cliff Grand Meeting. Ningyu, this is for you. After seeing Ningyu, Yang Yaming threw a space ring to Ningyu. Pa! Ningyu raised his right hand and caught the space ring firmly in his hand. After releasing his perception and probing a little, Ningyu asked, "Why are you giving me the 2 realm stones? I don't think there's any relationship between us." Haha, of course there's a relationship between us. Yang Yaming smiled and said, "I won these 20,000 2 realm stones from Mo Chong. They belong to you. Tell me, why did you come to see me?" Ning, you kept the 2 realm stones and asked, There was no free lunch in the world. Since Yang Yeming gave him the 2 realm stones, he definitely had something to say. Cough, cough. Chapter 24:14. Bootlicker, an exceptional genius among the Sky Fiends? Ning Yu was slightly surprised. One should know that the 4 major cities, including Broken Cliff City, all had immortal kings. In the whole world, apart from the Immortal Court, these 5 major cities were probably the safest. But now Yang Yeming said that there was a Sky Fiend genius in North City. Could it be that the Sky Fiends had already started to attack the 4 major cities? Taking a deep breath, Ning Yu asked, "Are there any immortal kings among them?" Ning Yu did not care about the number of Sky Fiends. What he was concerned about was whether there were immortal kings among the Sky Fiends. If there were immortal kings, he would not mess around with Yang Yeming. After all, he did not know much about the immortal kings among the Sky Fiends. If he encountered a powerful Sky Fiend immortal king, he would be courting death. There are 2 immortal kings, but Yang Yeming answered honestly, "This is for you." Before Yang Yeming finished speaking, Ning Yu flicked his wrist and threw the 20,000 2 realm stones back. What a joke! With a Sky Fiend immortal king there, why would he go to North City? To court death? Ning Yu knew what he was capable of. With his current strength, he could go against experts who had just entered the Celestial King realm, and he could even easily kill them. If he encountered a peak early stage immortal king, he could rely on his immortal king divine armor to fight or kill him. However, if he encountered an intermediate stage immortal king, he would not even have the chance to escape. After all, intermediate stage immortal king and early stage immortal king were 2 completely different concepts. It could be said that even if 10 early stage immortal kings joined forces, they would definitely not be a match for an intermediate stage immortal king. Reality was just that cruel. I am not done yet. Yang Yeming did not know whether to laugh or cry as he threw the 2 realm stones back to Ning Yu. It was true that there was a Sky Fiend immortal king in North City, but he also had 2 immortal king powerhouses by his side. And the news he received was that there was only 1 Sky Fiend immortal king in North City, and it was only an early stage immortal king. To deal with such a Sky Fiend immortal king, there was no need for the powerhouses he brought. Just him and Ning Yu could easily kill him. Pah! Ning Yu was not stupid. Since Yang Yeming said this, it meant that he had absolute confidence. Ning Yu stretched out his right hand and caught the Dimension Stone firmly, and then he said, "I want to know exactly how many immortal kings are behind you." Although Ning Yu knew that there were immortal kings behind Yang Yeming, he wasn't sure how many, because if a celestial king wanted to focus on concealing his aura, it would be very difficult for him to detect it. Immortal king, Yang Yeming didn't intend to hide it from Ning Yu. He stretched out 2 fingers and said, "I have 2 immortal king powerhouses on my side, plus you and I. Even if we encounter an intermediate immortal king heavenly demon, we can still contend a little." Chin, dash! Yang Yeming was also a person who liked to brag without any preparation. Merely 2 immortal kings and a few 5th stage half-step immortal kings wanted to contend against an intermediate immortal king stage heavenly devil? This was no different from a fool's ravings. You should know, the combined strength of a celestial king middle stage celestial devil was comparable to a human martial artist at the peak of the middle stage celestial king middle stage. The Skyfiend's battle prowess was not to be underestimated. In a one-on-one battle, there was a 90% chance that a human martial artist would be defeated if they were of the same cultivation level. "I can follow you to North City," Ning Yu said. "However, I want to know the purpose of our trip to North City. Don't tell me it's to kill a Skyfiend genius. I can't hide anything from you." Yang Yeming smiled and said, "There's a heavenly demon genius who has a very high position among the heavenly demons. He has 2 peerless treasures among the heavenly demons." Peerless treasure? Ning Yu raised his eyebrows. a peak stage Celestial King Tier battle armor, and a peak stage Celestial King Tier flying sword. Yang Yeming said in a voice that only he and Ningyu could hear, as he was determined to shock them to death. What the F***? Ningyu cursed on the spot. Peak Immortal King stage battle armor and flying sword? What was the identity of that Skyfiend genius to actually carry such things with him? But very quickly, Ningyu calmed down. There was no free lunch in the world. That Skyfiend genius definitely had some trump cards to dare to enter North City. How about it? After this is done, we'll each have one. I'll let you choose first. Yang Yeming continued. Ning, you didn't answer Yang Yeming immediately. Instead, he frowned slightly and pondered in his heart. This matter sounded simple, but it wasn't. Let's not talk about whether or not the Skyfiend genius had a trump card. Just the Peak Immortal King battle armor and Peak Immortal King stage flying sword were enough to make them suffer. Ning Yu had no doubt that if these two magic treasures were given to him, he could definitely contend with an intermediate Immortal King stage Immortal King. Okay, I promise you. Ning Yu didn't think for long and quickly agreed to Yang Yeming. It wasn't his style to be overcautious and indecisive. As the saying went, you can't catch the wolf without risking the child. The greater the danger, the greater the opportunity. As for Yang Yeming scheming against him, he felt that the possibility was very low. There's no time to lose, let's go now. Yang Yeming was an impatient person. He immediately stepped on the ground and rushed out. Lin Lang, frenzy, you guys. Ningyu turned to look at Lin Lang and frenzy. He was about to speak, but was interrupted by Lin Lang. I'll follow you. With my speed of breaking array formations, I might be able to help you. Lin Lang puffed out his chest and said proudly, I want to go too. Frenzy's tone was milder, but like Lin Lang, he wanted to go to North City. Opportunity and danger coexisted. If they wanted to catch up to Ningyu, they could only take the risk. Otherwise, the gap between them and Ningyu would get bigger and bigger. In the end, Ningyu might have already advanced to Intermediate Immortal King while they were still at the 5th stage half-step Immortal King. All right, but when we reach North City, you guys have to listen to me. No one can act on their own. Helplessly, Ningyu could only compromise. Swish, swish, swish. Next, Ningyu, Lin Lang, Frenzy. The three of them sped out and sprinted towards North City. At the same moment, North City, 30 miles east. A group of 4 to 5 martial artists were walking towards North City at a leisurely pace. Looking carefully, the cultivation of these 4 to 5 martial artists were all at the 5th stage half-step Immortal King. Among them, the martial artist in the lead was dressed in blue, holding a folding fan in his hand and looking like a scholar. Life-stealing scholar. The nickname of the martial artist in blue was Life-stealing scholar. Among the sky demons, anyone who dared to offend him would be killed by him. His famous saying was that those who were not of the same race would have different intentions. So, originally, there were more than a dozen people in the blue-clothed cultivators group. Now, there were only 5 people left. Furthermore, they were constantly flattering him. Life-stealing scholar, in this trip to North City, you will definitely get that thing. Chapter 2415. Chapter 2415. Chapter 2415. Heavenly Demon Attack Bang. Just as the white-robed half-step Immortal King finished a sentence, the life-stealing scholar lifted his right leg and kicked him hard on the buttocks. The huge force that came from his buttocks caused the body of the 5th stage half-step Immortal King in white clothes to fly backward and fall heavily to the ground. Pucci! Fresh blood spurted out, and the aura of the white-robed 5th stage half-step Immortal King instantly dropped from 5th stage half-step Immortal King to 1st stage half-step Immortal King. At this moment, he shouldn't be called by 5th stage half-step Immortal King. He could completely change his name to by 1st stage half-step Immortal King. Obviously, his flattery had gone too far. If there's a next time, Dai. The life-stealer scholar closed the fan in his hand and said coldly, "If you want to follow me, the life-stealer scholar, you'd better cut the crap. You can only speak when I give you permission. If I ask you to shut up, you'd better shut up. Do you hear me?" Yes. The remaining 3 fifth-stage, half-step immortal kings replied in unison. Yes. The voice of the 5th-stage, half-step immortal king in white robes sounded. Kacha! The white-robed stage, 5-stage, half-step immortal king was slower by half a beat, which obviously angered the life-stealing scholar. The life-stealing scholar stomped on the ground and leaped into the air. In the blink of an eye, the deadly stealer scholar came before the white-robed stage, 5-stage, half-step immortal king, exerted a little force on his right hand, and twisted the stage, 5-stage, half-step immortal king's head. That's right, it was twisted off, not broken. Voila! In an instant, the flesh and blood of the 5th-stage, half-step immortal king in white splattered everywhere. Just the blood alone flew several meters high. Hiss! The remaining 3 celestial kings gasped inwardly when they saw the miserable state of the celestial king in white robes. They did not dare to show it, because the deadly bookworm was temperamental. If they were to offend him, the consequences would be dire. Let's go to North City. The deadly stealer scholar did not even look at the white-robed stage, 5-stage, half-step immortal king. His figure flashed as he rushed towards the North City. This trip to North City was of great significance. Whoever could snatch such a thing would be able to obtain a lot of resources and use them to break through to the immortal king stage. There were many emperors among the celestial demons, but none of them had reached the celestial king stage. One could imagine, whoever advanced to the celestial king stage first would be able to seize the initiative and have the chance to ascend to the throne, because they had received definite news that the heavenly devil king would lead the heavenly devil army to attack the immortal court in a few days. At that time, regardless of whether they succeeded or not, the next heavenly devil king would be chosen. Therefore, many sky devil emperors took the initiative to try their luck at the northern city. The one who gave the deadly bookworm the most sense of danger was the divine flame monarch's son. The divine flame emperor's son's cultivation was the same as his, a 5th-stage half-step immortal king. However, the divine flame emperor's dharma treasures were peak-stage celestial king armor and peak-stage celestial king flying sword. As for him, he was wearing a late-stage immortal king battle armor and holding a mid-stage immortal king flying sword. I must snatch that thing before the divine fire emperor. Thinking of this, the life-stealing scholar did not hesitate to burn his blood essence to increase his speed so that he could reach the North City first. Hua! As the life-stealing scholar was rushing at full speed, it did not take him long to arrive at the entrance of the North City. However, together with them were Ningyu and Yang Yeming's group. Seeing Ningyu and Yang Yeming, the life-stealing scholar's face turned solemn. He initially thought that only the Sky Devil Emperors would pose a threat to him. Who would have thought that he would meet 2 terrifying human geniuses before he even entered the North City? One of them was a 5th-stage half-step immortal king, while the other was a 4th-stage half-step immortal king. The one who gave him immense pressure was a 4th-stage half-step immortal king. Go and test their strength. The life-stealing scholar waved the folding fan in his hand and said to a 5th-stage half-step immortal king beside him, "Understood." The 5th-stage half-step immortal king, who was chosen by the life-stealing scholar, did not dare to hesitate and rushed towards Ningyu and Yang Yeming. Not long later, the 5th-stage half-step immortal king arrived in front of Ningyu and Yang Yeming. "Both of you, punch me with all your strength." The 5th-stage half-step immortal king crossed his arms in front of his chest and looked at Ningyu and Yang Yeming. What? Ningyu and Yang Yeming looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. Have you lost your mind? Although your cultivation base is 5th-stage half-step immortal king, Provoking the two of us is no different from courting death. Baldy, do you really want us to punch you? Yang Yeming stared at the fifth stage half-step Immortal King with interest and said, "Let me remind you that my fist doesn't have eyes. I might kill you with a single punch. I hate it when people call me Baldy." The bald, fifth stage half-step Immortal King was enraged and said angrily, "If I want you to fight, just do it. What's with all this nonsense? Forget it. Since you don't dare to, I'll make the first move." Swoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, the bald, fifth stage, half-step Immortal King rose from the ground and punched towards Yang Yeming's head with a violent energy gale. "You're courting death." Yang Yeming's face turned cold as he looked at the bald martial artist who was charging towards him. He clenched his right fist and punched out. Bang! The two fists collided. Yang Yeming stood where he was and did not move, while the bald martial artist retreated several feet. "You overestimate yourself." "If I didn't." Yang Yeming curled his lips and said. However, Yang Yeming's words stopped abruptly in the middle of his sentence. At some unknown time, Ning Yu had already rushed out. He took out the red devil sword and slashed at the bald martial artist's neck. Wherever the red devil sword passed, the air parted to form a vacuum. Ning Yu had given the red devil sword all the celestial king-level armor and flying swords he had obtained, except for the ones in the late-stage celestial king realm. Therefore, the red devil sword had reached the peak of the late-stage celestial king realm. Although it had not advanced to the middle-stage celestial king realm, Ning Yu believed that as long as he could get rid of these martial artists, the red devil sword would be able to advance to the middle-stage celestial king realm. Crack! The red devil sword was extremely fast, and it gradually expanded in front of the bald martial artist's horrified face. In the end, the bald martial artist's neck was cut off, and he died on the spot. "What are you doing?" Seeing Ning Yu kill the bald martial artist, Yang Yeming's mouth was slightly agape. He could not understand. Someone only provoked you a little and you killed him? You should at least ask for the reason before killing him. They are heavenly demons. In order not to cause panic, Ning Yu transmitted his voice to Yang Yeming. "There are 3 more heavenly demons over there. I'll deal with the one with the folding fan. The other 2 are yours." Ning Yu did this not because he was arrogant, but because the heavenly demon with the folding fan had a lot of good things on him. He needed those things to help the red devil sword advance, so he had to choose the heavenly demon with the folding fan. Otherwise, he would not go looking for trouble. Sure, Yang Yeming seemed to have sensed Ning Yu's thoughts. He nodded and said, "Let's compete to see who can get rid of their opponents first." As soon as he said the word "get rid of," Yang Yeming rose from the ground and rushed out at a terrifying speed. Seeing this, Ning Yu rolled his eyes. "Don't you feel embarrassed? The 2 fifth-stage half-step celestial kings that you're dealing with are no match for the heavenly demon with the folding fan that I am dealing with." Ning Yu did not waste any time. Chapter 24:16. Chapter 24:16. Chapter 24:16. Condition Rumble. The battle erupted in an instant. Although the 2 sky demons that Yang Yeming was dealing with were at the 5th stage half-step to Immortal King realm, they were extremely weak. Bang! In just one exchange, a 5th stage half-step to Immortal King realm was severely injured. At this rate, the 2 5th stage half-step to Immortal King realm would be killed by Yang Yeming in a few minutes. How dare you! On the other side, the deadly Stealer Scholar waved the folding fan in his hand and stared at Ning Yu, who was charging toward him with interest. He said, sinisterly, "Not only did you kill my people, but you even dare to attack me? Hee hee. This day next year will be the anniversary of your death." As soon as the word anniversary was uttered, the life-stealing scholar rose from the ground and swung the fan in his hand at Ning Yu's head. Kacha! It was a critical moment. Ningyu took out the red demon sword and it collided with the life-stealing scholar's fan. A crisp sound was heard. The life-stealing scholar's fan broke into two on the spot. You have completely infuriated me. The life-stealing scholar's face turned extremely ugly when the fan broke. Although the fan was only at the early stage Immortal King realm, it meant a lot to him. Now that the folding fan was broken by Ningyu, he appeared to be extremely angry. Extremely angry. Swoosh! He flicked his wrist. In an instant, the life-stealing scholar took out his natal flying sword. Mid-stage Immortal King realm, life-demanding sword. The life-demanding sword had reached the peak of the mid-stage Immortal King realm. It was only a step away from the late-stage Immortal King realm. Through the exchange just now, the life-stealing scholar had already determined the exact level of the red flying sword in Ningyu's hand. If he was not mistaken, the red flying sword was at most a peak stage Immortal King realm flying sword. Compared to the life-demanding sword, the grade of the red flying sword was one level lower. Under normal circumstances, if the life-demanding sword and the red flying sword collided, the life-demanding sword would definitely win. Ding! However, his ideal was perfect, but reality was harsh. A ding was heard. Ningyu and the life-stealing scholar retreated a few steps at the same time. The red demon sword was fine, but the life-demanding sword had a slight chip on it. How is this possible? The life-stealing scholar turned pale with fright. To be honest, this was the first time he had seen a peak intermediate Immortal King stage flying sword fail to break a peak early Immortal King stage flying sword. Could it be the red flying sword in Ningyu's hand was not at the early stage of the Immortal King realm? The more he thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. Pucci! Pucci! At this moment, the battle on the side had come to an end. Yang Yeming came from a super immortal domain, and his cultivation base was at the 5th stage of the half-step Immortal King realm. Naturally, he could easily kill 2 heavenly devils who were not particularly strong. I won. After killing the 2 5th stage half-step Immortal King heavenly devils, Yang Yeming turned to look at Ningyu and said, I'm fighting 1 against 2, but you're fighting 1-on-1. It seems like you need to cultivate well. Hearing Yang Yeming's words, Ningyu rolled his eyes. How dare you say that? Crack, crack, crack. Cracking his neck, Ningyu did not bother about Yang Yeming. Instead, he channeled all the energy in his body into the red demon's sword and slashed with it. Whoosh! Suddenly, the void was torn apart and a waist-thick sword radiance flew out from the red demon's sword. Child's play. The life-stealing scholar's eyes turned serious. Although he said it was child's play, he did not relax his grip at all. The next moment, the life-demanding sword shone brightly, and a terrifying sword radiance flew out from the life-demanding sword and collided with the sword radiance that Ningyu had slashed out. Rumble! This time the collision. The 2 sword radiances shattered, and the shockwaves spread out in all directions. Whoosh! After the attack, Ningyu chased after him. Strictly speaking, the life-stealing scholar was only slightly weaker than an actual Immortal King. However, Ningyu's strength was much stronger than an ordinary Immortal King's. Perhaps the life-stealing scholar was a peerless genius among the heavenly devils. However, he was destined to die when he encountered Ningyu. Pucci! 3 minutes later, the life-stealing scholar stabbed the life-demanding sword into Ningyu's chest. As for Ningyu, he stabbed the red demon sword into the life-stealing scholar's neck. Although both Ningyu and the life-stealing scholar were wearing Celestial King advanced stage armor. However, it was a pity. The life-stealing scholar's life-demanding sword could not pierce through the Celestial King advanced stage armor. However, Ningyu's red demon sword had pierced through the life-stealing scholar's neck. You! The life-stealing scholar raised his right hand and pointed at Ningyu. He then looked down at the red demon's sword on his neck. He wanted to say something harsh, but his body fell backward and fell to the ground. At this moment, the Heavenly Devil Emperor's disciple, who was half a step to the Celestial King realm, the life-stealing scholar, had died a horrible death. Crack! At the same time, in a luxurious room in the Heavenly Devil's base camp, a golden badge shuddered for a while before it shattered into pieces. Whoosh! The shattering of the golden token caused the Heavenly Devil, who was guarding the token, to turn pale. In this room, a golden token represented a celestial prince. Now that the token had shattered, it meant that one of the celestial princes had been killed. If it was just an ordinary token shattering, the Heavenly Devil who was guarding the token would not have such an expression. After all, there had been a token shattering every few days for a long time. However, the token that had shattered this time was at the top of the row. The Heavenly Devils who were able to place their tokens there were the best contenders for the title of Heavenly Devil Emperor. The shorter Heavenly Devil, who was guarding the token, dared not delay. He immediately rushed out with the shattered token and went to inform the Celestial Prince. Whoosh! Ning Yu had no idea what was happening in the Heavenly Devil's base camp. However, even if he knew, he would just laugh it off. At this moment, he was squatting beside the life-stealing scholar and was searching his body. A moment later, Ning Yu got up. In his hand, there were a few energy stones the size of a fingernail. With a flick of his wrist, Ning Yu threw the energy stones into the red demon's sword. He thought about it. Ning Yu then took off the armor that the life-stealing scholar was wearing and threw it to the madman, saying, "You can use this armor first." Pa! The madman took the armor and looked at it. He hesitated. "It's too valuable. What do you mean valuable? I'm giving it to you. Just take it. Don't be so wishy-washy like a woman." Ning Yu waved his hand and interrupted the madman, saying, "You can increase your strength by wearing a late-stage Celestial King armor. Otherwise, you'll just be a burden." Ning Yu's tone was rather heavy. Otherwise, the madman would not have accepted the armor. "Thank you." As expected, hearing Ning Yu's words, the madman nodded and said, "I won't let you down." Done. Ning Yu was very satisfied. A late-stage Celestial King armor was enough to bribe the madman. It was a worthwhile trade. "I want it too." Lin Lang leaped and came to Ning Yu's side. He extended his hand and said, "Ning Yu, you can't be biased. You gave the madman a late-stage Celestial King armor. No matter what, you have to give me a mid-stage Celestial King armor. Scram!" Chapter 24:17 Mid-Stage Immortal King, Realm Kacha. As if provoked by Ning Yu, Lin Lang suddenly took out a silver-white pill and threw it into his mouth to chew. The pill melted in his mouth and entered Lin Lang's abdomen. Boom! As soon as the pill entered his abdomen, an extremely terrifying aura emanated from Lin Lang's body. I can't believe it." Ning Yu couldn't help but curse when he felt the aura emanating from Lin Lang's body. First stage, half-step Immortal King. That's right. Lin Lang had already advanced to first stage, half-step Immortal King realm. Who? As the person involved, Lin Lang slowly breathed out a mouthful of turbid air, then said to Ning Yu, "You have to keep your word. I advanced to first stage, half-step Immortal King realm, so you owe me a late-stage Immortal King realm armor." Gulp. Ning Yu swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Isn't this too ridiculous? He just said it casually, but he didn't expect Lin Lang to really advance to first stage, half-step Immortal King realm. Could it be that Lin Lang has been waiting for him to say this? Advancing to first stage, half-step Immortal King realm in advance and getting a late-stage Immortal King realm armor. This isn't a bad deal. Seeing the change in Ning Yu's expression, Lin Lang chuckled and said to himself, "With a late-stage Immortal King realm armor, I can even easily fight a third-stage, half-step Immortal King realm." Actually, Lin Lang could have advanced to first-stage, half-step Immortal King realm a long time ago. The reason why he didn't do it was because he wanted to accumulate enough strength. Otherwise, It would have a huge impact on him when he advanced to first stage half-step Immortal King realm in the future. However, none of this was as tempting as a late-stage Immortal King realm armor. I will keep my word. I will find a late-stage Immortal King realm armor for you. Ning Yu naturally wouldn't tease Lin Lang. He had to take responsibility for his words. Then I will thank you in advance. Lin Lang cupped his fists and said to Ning Yu, "Let's go." At this moment, Yang Yeming came to Ning Yu's side and whispered, "The situation has changed. We need to find a place to settle down as soon as possible." "There's been a change in the situation?" Ning Yu frowned slightly. Soon after, he followed Yang Yeming and walked towards the northern part of the city. Lin Lang and Madman did not hesitate. They followed closely behind Ning Yu and Yang Yeming and disappeared. Buzz! Ning Yu and the others had just stepped into North City when the void behind them split open and a young martial artist appeared. If the life-stealing scholar was here, he would have realized that he knew this young martial artist, and he was very familiar with him. Divine Flame Emperor's son. The young martial artist was none other than the Divine Flame Emperor that Deadly Bookworm was afraid of. Interesting. The corner of the Divine Fire Emperor's lips curled up, and he said, "Although the life-stealing scholar is trash, he is not weak. Since Ning Yu was able to kill him in one move, it seems like his strength is not bad." The Divine Flame Emperor had heard about what had happened in Broken Cliff City. Ning Yu's name, naturally, could not be hidden from him. "I thought that the trip to North City would be boring, but it seems like it will be very interesting." The Divine Flame Emperor's hands tore open the void and went in. Swoosh! Not long after the Divine Flame Emperor left, another 2 martial artists appeared. The 2 martial artists looked around and then walked towards North City. At the same time, North City, City Lord's Mansion. Ning Yu and Yang Yeming did not go anywhere else, but went straight to the City Lord's Mansion. The Northern Venerable was killed, and the City Lord's Mansion was without a leader, so it was the best time to strike. Of course, Yang Yeming did not know that the Northern Venerable was killed, but now he had found out through his own channels. Yang Yeming had originally planned to go to a restaurant or inn, but after knowing that the Northern Venerable was killed by Ning Yu, he immediately chose to go to the City Lord's Mansion with Ning Yu. Halt! When Ning Yu and the others arrived at the main entrance of the City Lord's Mansion, 2 servants stopped them. They looked up. The 2 servants were not weak, and their cultivation was half a step to the Immortal King realm. Only a super force like the City Lord's Mansion of North City could use a half a step to the Immortal King realm to guard the door. Call the person in charge out. No matter how high the servant's cultivation was, Ning Yu would not waste time on them. He only had one goal in coming to the City Lord's Mansion, and that was to plunder everything in the City Lord's Mansion's treasure pavilion. Recently, he had plundered the Qian family's treasure pavilion and the Eastern City Lord's Mansion's treasure pavilion. Now that he had come to the City Lord's Mansion, he definitely wanted to plunder everything inside before leaving. Humph! The 2 servants who guarded the door snorted coldly at the same time, then stomped their feet on the ground and rushed towards Ning Yu. The servants' actions made Ning Yu a little confused. Logically speaking, he did not act particularly arrogant, and there was no reason for the servants to treat him like this. There must be a reason for something abnormal to happen. Ning Yu released his perception and began to probe the 2 servants. Sky Demon? With this look, Ning Yu directly exclaimed. The identity of the servants was a Sky Demon. The fact that the Sky Demon was guarding the door of the City Lord's Mansion meant that the current City Lord's Mansion was most likely occupied by the Sky Demon. Madman, Lin Lang, you guys get rid of him for me. Thinking of this, Ning Yu immediately leaped up and rushed towards the City Lord's Mansion. Swish! Yang Yeming did not dare to delay and hurriedly followed. Obviously, Yang Yeming also realized the seriousness of the problem. On the way here, he was still able to communicate with the two immortal kings in the void, but now he had completely lost contact. Yang Yeming did not dare to think too much, afraid that the two immortal kings protecting him would be killed. One had to know. Although there were many immortal king powerhouses in the super immortal kingdom he was in, the number of immortal kings in his faction was limited. If one died, there would be one less. Kill. After Ningyu and Yang Yeming left, Lin Lang and Madman attacked at the same time, each facing a servant. Puff! Puff! Almost in an instant, the two servants were killed in a domineering manner. One for each person, simple and clear. City, Lord's Mansion, Guest Hall. At this moment, there were a total of 2 martial artists in the guest hall. Ningyu was very familiar with these 2 martial artists. One of them was the Venerable of the North, and the other was the Venerable of the South. Dong, dong, dong. The Venerable of the North lightly knocked on the table and said indifferently, "Brother South, Ning, you killed the Venerable of the East and Qiankun. Don't you want to capture him and study him?" "There's no need for that." The Venerable of the South said in a deep voice, "I'm only 1 step away from the intermediate immortal king. I just need to cultivate slowly, and in less than 3 years, I'll be able to advance to the intermediate immortal king. As for you, I don't think there's a need to get involved. Ning, you killed Qiankun and the Venerable of the East. It has nothing to do with you." "Hee hee, you can't say that." The Venerable of the North smiled and said, "Tai Muqiang and the Venerable of the West are not fools. Since they chose to protect Ningyu, it means that Ningyu has something that they are interested in." "So what?" The Venerable of the South raised his eyebrows. "Let's join forces and kill Ningyu. I'll provide you with treasures and elixirs so that you can advance to the intermediate immortal king in advance." As he spoke, the aura within the Venerable of the North was suddenly released. Hiss! The Venerable of the South gasped in shock. Chapter 2418. Chapter 2418. Chapter 2418 Choice. How about it? Will you consider it? The Northern Venerable One seemed to be pleased with the Southern Venerable One's reaction. He smirked and said, "It's time to pick a side. Usually you can remain neutral, but today you must make a choice. Are you going to choose me or the Western Venerable One? I hope you'll consider it carefully." The Venerable of the South's face darkened. The current situation was very clear. If he chose the Western Reverend, the Northern Reverend would definitely not let him off. After all, the Western supremacy had already advanced to the intermediate stage of the Celestial King Realm, while he was only at the peak of the early stage of the Celestial King Realm. Taking a deep breath, the Venerable of the South said solemnly, "I have no other choice but to submit to you." Whoosh! However, before the Venerable of the South could finish his sentence, 2 figures appeared at the main entrance of the guest hall. There was no need to think about it. These 2 martial artists were Ningyu and Yang Yeming. The Venerable of the South's expression kept changing when he saw the familiar figure that appeared at the main entrance of the guest hall. Everyone knew that Ningyu was backed by the Western Venerable One and Tai Muqiang. Since Ningyu was here, the Western Venerable and Tai Muqiang were most likely nearby as well. Thinking of this, Venerable of the South hurriedly unleashed his perception, wanting to see if Tai Muqiang and the others were in the surroundings. "Something's wrong." The Southern Venerable One's expression changed drastically as soon as he probed. There was no other reason. In the void, there were 4 super experts fighting. The cultivation of these 4 super experts were all at the peak of the early Celestial King Realm. Even when compared to him, he was not much inferior. There is no Tai Muqiang or the Western Venerable. The only thing that surprised the Southern Venerate was that the 4 cultivators in the void did not have Ningyu's backers, Tai Muqiang or the Western Venerate. Could it be someone he brought? The Venerable of the South looked at Yang Yeming, who was beside Ningyu, and gradually made a judgment in his heart. As expected, the young martial artist next to Ning, you should have strength similar to Ningyu. I can't believe it. For Ningyu and Yang Yaming, as soon as they arrived at the entrance of the reception hall, they immediately cursed. Wasn't the Venerable of the North killed? Why was there another Venerable of the North in front of him? Heavenly demon! Ningyu reacted quickly. Almost immediately, he saw through the fake Northern Venerable One's true identity. However, although Ningyu had seen through the fake Venerable One's identity, he did not dare to act rashly. A mid-stage immortal king Skyfiend, coupled with the Southern Reverend. Even if he and Yang Yaming joined forces, they wouldn't have any chance of winning. The only thing he could do now was to calm down and slowly look for an opportunity. Otherwise, he would definitely die today, wearing out iron shoes in fruitless search, only to find it effortlessly. The Venerable of the North looked at Ningyu and Yang Yaming. Then he raised his hands and clapped. Papa! Then 2 crisp claps sounded. Swish, 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 swish. A group of 4 martial artists suddenly appeared out of thin air. You, Yang Yaming, come from a super celestial kingdom in the Celestial Lyceum. The Venerable of the North crossed his arms and looked at Yang Yaming. The 2 immortal kings you brought aren't too strong. How about this? Surrender to me, and I won't kill them. Young master, leave quickly. Swoosh, swoosh. 2 immortal kings in black clothes instantly appeared in front of Yang Yaming and said in a deep voice, We'll stop them! Humph! You overestimate yourself. The Venerable of the North harumphed coldly and flicked his wrists. Instantly, 2 beams of cold light flew out. Swoosh! Swoosh! The cold light was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it arrived in front of the 2 immortal kings in black clothes. Pucci! Pucci! Not only was the cold light fast, but it was also extremely powerful. Before the immortal kings in black clothes could react, they were hit in the chest by the cold light. Their bodies flew out and landed heavily on the ground. Blood spurted out of their mouths. The aura of the 2 immortal kings in black clothes immediately dropped to freezing point. What should we do? Seeing that the immortal kings in black clothes were defeated, Yang Yaming lowered his voice and sent a voice transmission to Ningyu. Why don't we escape together? You go left and I'll go right. Stop joking. Ningyu rolled his eyes and said, Even if you and I try our best to escape, we won't be able to escape. There's only one thing we can do now, and that's to wait. Wait? Yang Yaming was shocked. What method was this? Could it be that someone would come to help if they waited? Boom! It was proven. If they waited, someone would really come to help. The sky above the city, Lord's mansion, suddenly split open. Immediately after, 3 martial artists dashed out of the void and appeared in the sight of Ningyu and Yang Yaming. I knew you would come. Seeing the newcomer, the Northern Reverend's expression turned cold. Then he leapt into the air and hovered in midair, saying coldly, Shaoda, it's clearly a mistake for the Immortal Court to send you to guard Broken Cliff City. Venerable Devil Blood. In the air, Xiao Duanya looked at the Venerable of the North and said in a deep voice, You didn't take the path to heaven and barged into hell. If you had stayed in the Heavenly Demon's base camp, I might not have been able to do anything to you. But your mistake was coming to the North City and impersonating the Venerable of the North. So what if I impersonated? Come out, Venerable Devil Blood said with a calm expression. Whoosh! When Venerable Devil Blood said this, several figures suddenly dashed out of the city, Lord's mansion. Looking carefully, there were 10 heavenly demons in total. Their cultivation was all at the early stage of Immortal King. If the 2 early stage Immortal King heavenly demons were added, then there would be a total of 12 early stage Immortal King heavenly demons and 1 intermediate stage Immortal King heavenly demon. Such a force could only be achieved if all the experts in the Heavenly Demons base camp were mobilized. Venerable of the South, I'll give you a chance to choose again. Which side will you stand on? Venerable Devil Blood crossed his arms in front of his chest and looked at the Venerable of the South with interest. He said, "Will you stand on Xiao Duanya's side or mine?" The Venerable of the South hesitated. On the surface, Venerable Devil Blood's force was huge. He had a total of 12 early-stage Immortal King Heavenly Demons. In addition to his intermediate-stage Immortal King cultivation, this force was enough to destroy heaven and earth. On Xiao Duanya's side, the strongest expert was Xiao Duanya himself, who had intermediate-stage Immortal King cultivation. The remaining Tai Muqiang and the Venerable of the West were only at the peak of the early-stage Immortal King cultivation, which was the same as him. As for Yang Yeming's backers, the two black-robed Immortal Kings, their auras were very weak. It was very difficult for them to display the strength that they should have. Later, we will escape during the chaos. Ningyu lowered his voice and said to Yang Yeming, Lin Lang, and Feng Zi, who had already rushed over, "Leave the city, Lord's mansion. Run as far as you can." Just now, Ningyu was unwilling to escape because there was no one to restrain Venerable Devil Blood. Now, Xiao Duanya could completely restrain Venerable Devil Blood and buy enough time for them to escape. No problem. Yang Yeming and the rest nodded their heads heavily. All of them knew the severity of the situation. At this time, being with Ningyu and firmly believing in Ningyu's judgment was the best way. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.